How about you? Okay, I want to welcome everybody out. Thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to do a roll call. I want to recognize that this is the Roy City Council meeting for August 2nd. Time is 5:30. And we recognize that we have Councilmember Skadden, Councilmember Jackson, Councilmember Sophie Paul, Councilmember Wilson, and Councilmember Joe Paul with us tonight. With that, we've asked Randy, or Councilmember Skadden, if he'll lead us in a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. Randy?
If you can all take and just join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, if you could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Okay. We have two consent items. Let me just ask, is there any questions? I do have a couple of questions I'd like to ask before we jump into the consent items, before we ask for a motion. Do we have any comments from the council relative to the two consent items on the agenda?
I do on the sale of the surplus vehicle. Because we are trying out the new program of flipping them once a year, I would like to, and maybe it's done normally through your process, but I'd like to track the residual value of that, what we paid for versus what we got for it, and then see that afterwards to see how that's panning out for us.
Just so you know, the last two we've made around $5,000, $6,000 per vehicle. But we can definitely track that.
Okay,
I
that was
think
my
at some
question
time
too.
there might be a bigger discussion on that of how we budget for that.
I think the issue about the residual value being not allowed into the original budgeting process probably is in question, but I think, Matt, with your point, and Shirley with Councilman Paul's comment, it brings a lot of validity, okay, to the idea about purchasing these and then selling these a year later, where we can actually make a profit on them, and if you can show documentation to the council why that's very productive, then I think we can continue to say this is a good thing, and we can carry that message to the public. So if you would, then at least with the ones that you've already done, you said you've done two. If you can help us with this third one, I think that'd be more than convincing evidence that that it's working the way we designed, and that now we can basically just continue moving in that direction. That'd be okay? Council, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question on how, and maybe this isn't the setting to ask, but surplus vehicles, how do they get sold? And
State law requires us to do it on a public forum, so it depends on the type of asset. Some of the assets, like vehicles, are very easy to sell, so we like to do it on KSL. We do a publicsurplus.com. Most cities actually do that, but there is a required 10% fee on top of that the buyer pays for. So when you're talking $50,000 for a vehicle, that's 10% on top of that, so we choose not to use that service because we would actually not get as great a deal. But when we sell the smaller assets, that's what we go with.
do you ever offer it to employees? Or is employees
Yeah,
first
it would
or
be
not?
offered to the general public, yes.
Oh, just general public, it's not employees
Employees
first?
can take it, first come, first serve. We usually have, we usually identify where we want to go with the offer, and it's first come, first serve. There has been in the past where we didn't get that, and it took about a week to sell that. We'll actually drop that offer.
Okay.
But we won't just take that.
That in itself offers some interesting conversations. So, okay, that's good information to know. Okay, there's a financial statement component. Amber, were you wanting to talk about the document you put in here at this point before we, as a consent item, or are you ready to go ahead and allow us to go into and approve the consent items? What would you like to do?
The main reason why we're doing the financial statements here is we traditionally just keep them over in the legislative office for you guys to review. They're still over there. but we're wanting to document for our auditors that we give them to you. This is a state requirement that we do this. There is some negative components of doing this is we don't have all the accurate information right now, so it's basically 2 months behind. But we want to give you it in a timely manner to meet those requirements, so. But if you ever have any questions, you can always come and talk
The
to
only
us.
question I have, honest with you, before we jump into this, and I appreciate the response I got back, you indicated that this is lacking 2 months, possibly 3 months of sales tax information. But it looks like you might have hard numbers as it relates to the expenditures that we have in fact incur. Remember, this document is ending June 30th. I guess my question would be, before we do any action on this, if this was pretty accurate to the expenditures, if you look at the totals, particularly off the general fund, then we basically had 79% of our target goal of expenditures. 79% versus basically 18,373,000, okay? And our budget was 23 million, okay? So there was about a difference about almost $5 million delta. If the expenditures are solid, recognizing that we have a lagging revenue that's still coming through sales tax revenue from the state, then in my mind's eye, those expenditures now have been capped for last year, and any new monies or any new expenditures will be actually accounted for in this new fiscal year. If that be the case, did we leave a lot of expenditures, things we could have bought, things we could have done last year that we just didn't get done?
So there's a mixture of things. We still are open for last year. So there's still contracts and invoices coming in that's going to get paid through last year's budget. So it's not finalized. We finalized that last AP run probably in a month or so.
Okay.
But also there's bigger purchases that haven't been done. Just like the fire truck took a year to get. We have a lot of vehicles that we ordered last year that aren't coming in. So a lot of those could be just larger expenditures. We used to do an encumbrance, and now we have a part in the budget that we're bringing forth. We talked about it maybe 2 council meetings ago, that we have prior year expenditures that need to be rebudgeted next year.
Right.
So it just
yes, there is
cascades
some of
the
that.
buck.
So there's,
Pushes forward.
correct. So there's multiple reasons why this is the case.
It's just hard for me, to be honest, and I won't dwell too much longer on this. As much as I really enjoy the budget process and understanding it, it just seems like it's too much of a moving target to really make any decisions. Tell me when we basically think we'll have a hard number by which we can say, this is how we did in fiscal year 2022. How did we do?
The
When will
honest
that-
answer is actually when we present the financial statements, and last year we did it in December.
Okay.
And that is part of the challenge for us as well, is it is a moving target. There's a lot of things that kind of intermix with each other, but it is just the financial system. It's not unique to Roy City, though. It is
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Okay, well, then Amber will wait till December, and hopefully when we get to the actual end of the fiscal year data, we'll have a much better picture in terms of how well we did.
Yes.
Okay. November, December? Okay, thank you. Okay, council, any other questions or comments on the consent items?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent items.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the consent items. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Okay, thank you. We're now in public comment period. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, anything you'd like to bring forward, please step up to the mic and just give us your name and address and share anything you'd like to share. Don't be bashful. Name and address.
Hello, my name is Skylar Gallegos. My address is actually 3586 West, 900 North, and I live in West Point.
Okay.
I was a former resident in Roy before I moved to Texas for school and then moved back and ended up moving closer to family. But the reason why I'm here today is to speak in favor of Tailored Barber Co. and Tailored Body Arts and Tattoo that they're planning on doing to add on to their business here in the next future, hopefully, if it gets approved. The owners, Joe and Kayla, now Flores, I knew them back in junior high when they were, good friends of mine, and then all up through high school. So speaking of their character, they're fantastic people and great business owners. Even with their Tailored Barber Co., when I was out in Texas, I saw that they opened up this business, and I was excited to come back to Utah because it was close to home and it was a good barber shop. And there wasn't any good barbershops in the area other than, you know, your Sports Clips and Great Clips and things like that. I've had multiple barbers inside of his shop, and they've all done fantastic jobs. And I know it's because Joe and Kayla's selection process is very rigid, and they want to know that they can trust who they're going to be representing their business and doing all of their stuff for. So, and I know that he'd be the same way with all of his tattoo parlor people and all of his tattoo artists that he has coming through his business. I also live in the same neighborhood as them as well. So not only do they do a lot of community leadership stuff with like sponsoring, you know, football teams and city sports and giving back to the community, but they help out a lot in our neighborhood as well. We just had a newborn baby and they brought dinner over for us, and you know, they're just great people. So I just wanted to be here to support them in their new adventure, trying to open up this tattoo parlor inside of their barbershop. But thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Mayor, I have a question. Would it be better to separate public comments for if it's in favor or support of the barber to, or the tattoo parlor, to do that as part of public comments for that ordinance change?
Well, we can certainly recommend that. We can add, if you'd like to take the time, council, and have that part of the conversation that we're going to have when we deal with that particular ordinance. But as I've seen, and I stated in the very beginning, it's really whatever you want to talk about. If you don't like the dog licenses, let's hear about it. If you think the stop sign's the wrong place, let's hear about it. We allow you to say just about anything you want. But to his point, we could certainly make an amendment to this, and we could offer public comment during the time we're going to address this specific issue. Council, how would you like to approach it?
It was just a thought.
Either way, I'm indifferent.
Let's just continue.
Yeah, continue.
Please.
You're already standing there, so come on up. It sucks
Just
to sit back
please
down and
share
stand
your
back
name
up.
and address, and if you want to talk about dog licenses, anything you'd like.
Anything, okay. We should move that Maverick on Riverdale to Roy.
Breathe.
I agree.
We already have 2 Mavericks in Roy, though, just for the record. So,
That was a big one.
uh,
Hello, I'm Cynthia Soriano, 1796 West, 5025 South, Roy, Utah. So obviously I'm a Roy resident. So I'm here to speak on behalf of Taylor Barber Company and their desire to open a tattoo business. To piggyback off the previous speaker, I've known Joan and Kayla since they were teenagers. My daughter went to school with Kayla, and I've never seen Kayla and Joe so passionate about opening up this establishment, or this excited about anything other than their children and their home. So this is a great opportunity for them and for us. As I said, I'm a Roy resident, and as a local, it's important for me to support local first. I shop at Harmon's and I purchase local meats, baked goods, novelty treats, and that high dollar item, gasoline, for my car. I frequent the newly renovated Sacco's Farmhouse for local jellies, jams, and produce. I get my hair done by a self-owned business in a Roy home. I purchase jewelry from Aaron's Jewelers for myself and for my family members. I wrap these gifts up with paper that I purchased from the Dilly Dally. Lynn's Nails, where I go for a mani-pedi, which, you know, reminds me I need to go there soon. And these are just a few of the places in Roy where I spend my hard-earned money. So as you can see, supporting my community is a priority for me. And when the day comes and I'm ready to commit to a tattoo, I don't have one, I want to support a female, minority-owned small business that also gives back to the community. And you've heard of some of their give back, you know, such as the local charities with coats and shoes. I love that they support our military and our first responders, which several of my coworkers, they make their lunch appointments and their hair appointments around coming to Roy to get this done. They offer them a discounted rate. They always come back happy, and they always talk about, look at my hair, look how I look. So I'm sure they would do that with a tattoo. And for fun, you know, they also like to throw some treats out to the crowd during the Roy Days Parade, which is obviously, we all know, coming up real soon. Our city is growing, and we all know with the new development on Hill Air Force Base, it'll bring more people into our area. At the rate of all these townhomes and apartments going up, they will fill up quickly. Our population will grow. Our economy will grow and the community will benefit. Supporting local is supporting the heartbeat of Roy. This is the gateway to Roy, not another car wash or a motel. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Please, name and address.
Hi, my name is Meg Wortman. Sorry, I'm kind of short. My address is 2866 West, 2300 North in Clinton. I can bend it. Okay. So the two before me already made most of the points I was also going to make, but I'm here in support of Taylor Barber. I've known Kayla since I think she was 13. She's always had just perfect expectations of things, and I know we'll expect that from if and when she gets to open this tattoo shop. My husband and I have lived in this community for 20 years. One of the main reasons that we chose to stay in this area is because of economic growth. This place is just getting bigger every day, but COVID slowed a lot of that stuff down in regards to small businesses. So during these tough times, we're hoping that you will help offer some relief and offer to let them open up this tattoo shop. And probably my other, they already said everything else, but my other points are we highly support them and we know that they're going to do great things. So we hope that this goes through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your input. Please, name and address.
Hi, my name is Ashley Gladwell. I live at 2648 West, 4650 South here in Roy. I have actually lived in Roy for 8 years. I also own a small business in Ogden. I have owned that business for 3 years. The reason I'm here today is because if I was put in this situation, I would hope to have this much support behind me. My salon has faced a lot of hardship, and I can only imagine all the small businesses of what they've gone through. I feel like this is an opportunity for them to rebuild from that happening. It's also providing jobs to our community. I also want to say that Kayla and Joe are amazing people. They're hard workers, and they have even been like mentors to me with my own business. The amount they offer to Roy with their barbershop is astonishing, and I can only imagine how much more they are going to bring with the tattoo shop. It won't even just help them, it will also help businesses that are near them with bringing in more to our community. I find it highly unfair if they are not able to open this, as they've put in every ounce of their hard work and put everything of their hard-earned money and followed the rules and regulations to a T. I hope they aren't held back. A city census is not always the correct, sorry, I'm losing thought here. It's not always the correct, accurate number. With our population growth, I know that these numbers can't necessarily always be correct, as we don't have a correct number for always having every single resident in the home. COVID and the pandemic was already hard enough to face as a small business owner, and I hope they aren't having to face more. Is this ordinance made into factor because it is a tattoo shop? I'm 32 years old. I have an established business. I have 3 kids. I'm a hardworking mom, and I have tattoos. My tattoos don't define me. If anything, they show my personality. This doesn't mean it's going to bring negative to our town. My hope for today is seeing the positives in changing the ordinance. What we should look at is this is bringing more jobs to our city. It's helping our economy grow. It's allowing us to be open-minded to a new business. It's applauding the husband and wife for working hard daily for their family and for their beliefs and pushing to grow their business. And at last, it's for us to come together as a community. Thank you, and I hope to see them open immediately.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. Okay. Please. Name and address.
Hi, Tyson Hunter, 799 East, 5000 South, South Ogden. I hate microphones. I'm here on behalf of RC Hunter Enterprises. We own Roy Crossroads Shopping Center. I haven't known Joe and Kayla near as long as everybody else. We met when we were negotiating the initial lease. They're a joy to work with. I was actually figuring on going after Kayla. I hope everyone saw or listened to what she said at Planning Commission. I don't think anyone could have put it more eloquently as to why this needs to happen. This isn't 1990. I got my first tattoo in Phoenix, 1990. I'm sure there was a motorcycle club associated with where I got my first tattoo. It's not 1990 anymore. You have to look at Joe and Kayla and what they've done with their barbershop. When it comes to personal branding, I think they could teach a master class. You look at their social platforms, they know that anything that goes on in or around their establishment will be videoed, posted online, and reflect on them, their business, and my business. Knowing Joe and Kayla, knowing how they handled COVID, knowing how they've handled any problem they've come up against, there is no doubt in my mind that the tattoo parlor, tattoo shop, whatever you want to call it, would be an asset to their business. And full disclosure, it doesn't affect my business with them one penny. We're based on square footage. I'm not here saying give them tattoos so I can make more money. Either way, it doesn't change our dealings one bit. Personal branding is the main thing I can think of. Anything bad that everyone's afraid of with tattoos, they know. They know what to stay away from. And as far as what tattoos mean, I would assume Costco does quite a bit of research on what they put on their monthly magazine so that they don't offend anyone. There's August's magazine cover. Tattoos are they're mainstream. Doctors have them, nurses have them, city recorders have them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a comment there for you, Brittany. Please, name and address.
My name's Keith Brumfield, 4433 Haven Creek Road, West Haven. I'm Caleb Brumfield's dad. Joe Flores is he's my son-in-law. They've opened a barber shop. Most of you probably have seen it or been in there or looked at it, especially now that we're here. But they took a barber shop and elevated it to another level. They have when you walk in there, it's not a typical barber shop. So these guys, when you walk in, they're shirt and tie, dressed to the nines. And it's not the first person that walks through the door that they hire. They hire the best. So if they have one slot to fill, they'll interview 5, 6, 7 people to fill that one spot, because they don't just hire a barber that can cut hair. They have to follow standards. And ask any of their barbers, and their standards are upheld every day. So there's no doubt in my mind that whenever they open up this this tattoo shop, that those tattoo artists are going to follow the same standards, if not more, because of how, the stigma of a tattoo shop these days, it carries its own stigma. But trust me when I tell you that these guys they're not going to open up your standard tattoo shop with Hell's Angels out front. This place is going to be nice. It's going to be for every tattoo artist they have, they're going to interview 10. So they're going to be the best of the best. And they're going to follow strict guidelines to be there and to be an asset, not just to the business, but just to the Roy community. I know you probably think I'm being biased because I'm Kayla's dad, but trust me, everybody in this room that knows me, I'm her biggest critic. So I'm not here. If this was a terrible idea, I would have voiced my opinion already, but that's not the case. Trust me when I tell you this is going to be an asset to Roy and an asset to their business. And I think the only way to find out is let them do it, and they'll show you. Promise. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate your input. Okay, name and address, please.
Hello, Matt Lanou, West Haven, Utah, 4381 South, 3700 West. I actually live right on the border of Roy, so I consider myself a Roy resident as well, as I used to live here. So in regards to the Taylor Barber Shop,
kind of caveat off what everybody else said. I don't know if I can really say much more. Excuse me. I've known Mr. and Mrs. Flores for many years. They have always had that go-getter, go-getter attitude and the, excuse me, drive to be successful. Isn't that what we want? Successful, hardworking people running successful, well-established businesses in the community. Mr. and Mrs. Flores have already proven to run a successful business that thrives with what's already been said, high standards, work ethics, and positive revenue with limitless contributions to the city of Roy. There's excuse me, there's obviously a demand for what Mr. and Mrs. Flores are requesting. People love to express themselves, and this is one way for them to have another way to do that. Let's not limit the expansion to the already successful business over population numbers that will most likely be met sooner than later. The last thing we want to do is force a successful business out and take the chance, excuse me, of getting a shady fly-by-night operation in its place. Without hesitation, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address. Thank you.
Brandon Barber, 2856 South, 1550 West, in Syracuse, actually. I've been a Roy resident up until this April. We just barely relocated, but I do have a retail computer shop here in Roy, as well as one in downtown Ogden and Clearfield that I run. Co-owner of that for over 25 years. Joe and Kayla, I've known them for about 7+ years. Joe's been cutting my hair. Met him at a tattoo shop next to my Ogden shop, actually. And I'm on his schedule every 2 weeks consistently. They do a great job. Not only, you know, the benefit of adding another business to Roy, I think, is huge for this city. Since I lived here, I've seen a lot of businesses come and go. It's a struggle being a business owner, as all, you know, everybody knows. But one thing that I admire about Joe and Kayla is their vetting process, whether it's for their barbers or their tattoo artists. I have a daughter that just finished cosmetology school, and Joe's in the trenches at the competitions, teaching and educating classes on Sundays on his day off. I just think it's a huge asset to the community for Roy to keep them here, as well as adding the tattoo shop. I think it'll be a huge revenue for the city and good for the youth, you know, to have somewhere to direct those arts, you know, into their future and careers. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
Name's Ross Worthington. My address is 2254 West, 1450 North in Layton. I'm here to speak in support of Joe and Kayla. I understand the stigma of tattoos and what those shops used to represent. It's kind of been brought up. I think that's long changed. And I'll present some statistics a little bit around that. But I was one of those people that had that stigma with people with tattoos. I've never told Joe this story, but to be honest, the first time I met him through business. Was lucky to be able to help them in purchasing their first home. And I was that guy that saw Joe, and then when you see Joe tatted, you know, the way that he is, arms up to neck and everything like that, it was intimidating. You just that stigma around him. He is one of the best men that I know. He's an amazing man, an amazing business owner that looks out for his employees in the community and anybody that he comes in touch with. You couldn't ask for somebody better to have in your city to represent the city of Roy and to bring what is art and personal art to people's lives and to touch them. And I know how he runs. I never thought with a haircut, a haircut was a haircut to me. And then I finally decided to start seeing Joe and realized that it's really an experience, that he's been able to change to me, just what a haircut is and what a beard trim is and all that kind of stuff. it is worth the travel. And I think that's the opportunity that you're looking at here. Is this isn't just about bringing in the money that Roy citizens have, but Joe has that reputation and is known in that side that he's going to bring people from other cities, other communities, that's going to add to your community. As far as in statistics around some tattoos, 11% of people with tattoos in the U.S. range in age from 50 to 64. 38% of adults ages 30 to 38, or 39, have tattoos. 36% of citizens age from 18 to 29 have at least one tattoo. As you can clearly see, it is a growing, and there's that change. And most people I know with tattoos, it is a personal representation or tells a story of something in their life. I just watched my my sister-in-law, who, if I just call it stigma with Utah, she's a Mormon, and she had a significant event happen in her life and chose to represent that through a tattoo. Anyways, a couple other statistics that are interesting. 36% of armed forces, including vets, have tattoos. Americans spend $1.65 billion a year on tattoos. There is one business tattoo parlor opened day in the United States right now. Again, the stigma's changed. You couldn't ask for somebody better. Tailored Barber, when you walk in there, isn't just a barber shop. And I know the tattoo parlor is going to be the same. It's there ready to go as soon as you guys say yes, and I hope that you'll do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address, please.
I'm so short. My name's Chelsea Karstensen, soon to be Chelsea Toothaker. I'm also here for Tailored Barbering and Tattoo. Oh, sorry, my address is 4527 South, 1965 West, and it's in Roy. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank Joe and Kayla for not only giving me the opportunity to speak, but also for building this small business. Not only is this tattoo business important to them, but it's important to my family and I. My fiance is one of the artists patiently waiting for the let's go from Joe and Kayla to start working. To some people, art and tattoos may be offensive, ugly, or trashy, but to us, it's a form of expression, meaningful and sentimental. A lot of people find art as a hobby. For my fiance, not only is it a hobby, but it's a career and something he's extremely passionate about. The satisfaction from his clients of his work is what he loves and strives for. Not many of us can go to work and say we absolutely love our jobs. I know for me, my 9-to-5 job is not my passion, but for these artists, it is. For Joe and Kayla to open their shop to allow these artists to embrace their talents is something I will forever be grateful for. I've only known them personally for a short few months, but they are amazing people working hard to grow their business and making dreams come true for these artists and their clients. They not only think of their business, they also think of the community and what this will do for the city of Roy. They are eager to grow and bring even more business to the community. They run the cleanest and respected business here in Roy, and if you ask anyone around you, someone knows about their business and has nothing but great things to say. I know this is a big decision for the community, but if you will all listen to what we have to say and what we all believe in, I think it'll change your mind on the idea of tattoos. I do believe it will give hope for all of us that this is something good for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address, please.
Steve Kaufman, 846 North, 3600 West. I live in West Point. Joe, Kayla, I apologize ahead of time, but I'm not going to stand in front of the board and convince them that you are the amazing people that Kate, Madison, and myself have come to know over the last few years. To understand the true value that you bring to this world, people must experience that on their own, because words can't describe the incredible character that you both bring. Instead, I'm going to focus on the meaning of the tattoo and the value this art would bring to the Roy community. As mentioned, my name is Steve Kaufman. I'm a 12-year active duty disabled Army veteran. I originally joined the service in January of 2008, and I left active duty in November of 2019, crossing over into the Army Reserves where I currently serve. The first tattoo I received was when I was 18 years old, getting ready to enlist into the service. The ink rests on my right forearm and is a verse from the Bible, Psalm 18:2. When I was a 10-year-old boy, my aunt took me to church in Southern Oregon where I accepted Christ as my Savior. Immediately following this act, she handed me a small bookmark with Psalm 18:2 on it. When I look down on my right arm, no matter what country I'm living in or what country I'm deployed to, I'm reminded of the direction I am going and reminded that no matter what may come of my life, I have a place of eternal resting in my future. I understand that it's not enough to convince the board that tattoos have value and meaning. And honestly, I don't know if anything I say can be of value. But there's one more thing I must mention that is honestly the most important reason why I have the tattoos you see before you. If you look behind me, sitting right over there, is my beautiful 11-year-old girl who was born on March 1st, 2011, just 9 months before I took my first trip overseas. I was a very young father and honestly had no idea what I was doing. I made too many mistakes to count and missed out on far too many opportunities to build a relationship with that little girl. But the one thing that I did do right was I loved her, and I continue to love her more than life itself. Every tattoo that resides on my left arm is a symbol for my daughter. The first was done right after she was born in Hawaii, which sits on my chest. Nothing crazy other than her name written in Hawaiian art to sit over my beating heart every day. The next is located on my shoulder, which is a still image of my daughter sitting on my shoulders, overlooking the mountains of Montana, with a Bible verse from Philippians 22:6, which refers to leading a child in the way they should go. After my deployment to Afghanistan, where I was gone for all of 2012, I came home and finished my arm. On my tricep, I placed a lion, symbolizing the strength and protection I would provide for my child. On the other side, printed into my bicep, it states, "While fear, pain, and failure may find you, I will never leave your side." I spent a lot of months and even many years away from my daughter due to my time in the service. But every time I leave, I always remind her that I am still by her side and will never forsake her. I'm not going to take the time to finish going over all the art I have printed on my arm, but rather will end with this. We live in a community that is mere minutes away from an Air Force installation, designated for pilots to train and deploy in support of our nation's freedom. These fighters are performing the same responsibilities that I did for so many years and are enduring the same hardships that I endured. They are leaving their families on a moment's notice and placing their lives in danger every time they board the plane. While the ink may not hold meaning to everyone, it served as a constant reminder to me that I had purpose in this life, and that was to be the best father I could to a little girl who deserved nothing but the best. This motivated me to protect the men and women around me because they also had families back in the rear, as well as ensure I did everything in my power to return home. With all this being said, I strongly encourage all of you to take a moment to think about the men and women that are overseas defending our nation and understand that a tattoo is more than just an image painted on someone's body, but rather serves as a reminder for many people to return home. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. Name and address?
Amy McCrary, and it's 4247 West, 5325 South in Roy. I've been a resident for 17 years, and I'm here. How do you follow Steve? Like, well done, Steve. I'm here to talk about character. Steve and Kayla and their tattoo shop and their barber shop, hands down, probably the best business that has been on the corner of 5600 and 3500 West. So just character, cleanness, all their barbers. I mean, everyone said everything that I was going to say. So how can we not say yes to Taylor Co. and, tattoo shop? So hopefully we get to see them in action soon. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Okay. Anybody want to talk about stop signs? Please, name and address, any topic.
Hi, I'm Steve Call, and I'm also here to represent the Taylor Co. So, what's that? 867 North, 3600 West, and that's West Point. Yeah. So, Joe and Kayla are neighbors of mine. I haven't known them for an immense amount of time, but as you can see, they have great character, and they run a very good shop. So, I'm just going to read to you what I wrote. So, tattooing has been practiced across the globe, dating back between 3370 BC and 3100 BC, as a form of communication, art, and self-expression. So what's kind of cool about this is it even predates, the first spoken language. Overall to me, it seems that this ordinance being put in place was a mistake in the fact that it singles out this type of market. This form of business is not harmful to those of legal age that make a conscious decision to self-express through the art of tattooing. There is a high demand for the service, and the free market should dictate how many of these businesses can sustain and be profitable, not a population ordinance that none of the surrounding cities have in place. So Joe and Kayla are running a very respectable business and should not be stifled by the ordinance to continue to grow their business, along with hiring employees, and then, as we've all heard, you know, how much they give back to the community. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Robert Percival, 5511 South, 2800 West. As most of the council people know, I like to know which hat I have on. Right now, I have the hat on as a Roy resident. That's what I'm speaking as. Mayor, I approve of stop signs. They're a good thing. That being said, I don't know Joe and Kayla, is that right? I have no idea who they are. I don't know anything about barbershops, obviously. I can't speak to that.
Fair.
But I do know a little about tattoos. I know that tattoos and other services fit nicely together because my personal tattoo artist works out of a beauty shop. She rents a booth in a beauty shop. They work well together. They're a good fit. As a 30-year first responder and a Navy veteran of 8 years, I refer to my sessions of tattooing as tattoo therapy. It's relaxing for me. I can fall asleep if I'm laying down while she's doing a tattoo. It's something about bringing out feelings. That's not what we always think about. People think about it's pain, but it is, but it brings out feelings too. My tattoo artist is a way better therapist than a bartender. That being said, tattoo shops should be treated like any other business. They're there to make money. They're there to help the citizens. They're there to bring in revenue for the city. If people are going to go to the tattoo shop, they're going to spend money in the city. They're going to buy food at the 7-Eleven. They're going to go to the Maverick. They're going to spend money in the city. And as we all know, the city can use all the revenue it can get. The last point I wanted to bring up is we know that only a couple of years ago, the city council approved tattoos, visible tattoos for city employees, which up until then we could not have. I think this policy would bring the city in line with our city policy as well as the ordinances in line with that. We even use the tattoo policy recruiting tool for the city. People know that we're able to have tattoos, and we get good people because of it. Like many have said, we have a lot of veterans in the community. Veterans want to serve, me being one. They want to serve, they want to be, and if you ban their tattoos or don't have tattoos, you're limiting your workforce. So it's important. Let the tattoo shop open, take away that, fix the ordinance, let the tattoo shop open, and let it sink or swim on its own. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. Okay, anybody else like to share a thought? Maybe one more? Okay, name and address. Thank you.
Travis Daly, address is 2977 West, 4425 South, and I'm here for Tailored Barber. There used to be a fight to take my son to go get his haircut. He hated getting haircuts until we went to Tailored Barber, and we had Joe and Julian, one of his employees, cut our hair, and now my son will only go to Julian to cut his hair. So not just Joe and Kayla, but their staff is amazing, wonderful people. You walk in gaining a bunch of friends and leave feeling like you're part of the Tailored family. So to keep them here, it would be, in my opinion, the right thing to do would to approve this tattoo shop to keep them here and keep those kind of businesses in our city. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else like to share a thought? Any topic? Okay, seeing none, we appreciate all the public input. I counted 13. and I do keep count of. So thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts on that. We do now, I'm going to move out of public comment period. I'd like to move into some action items. First thing, I'm going to turn some time over to Chief Golden. Craig, if you'll go ahead.
Mayor, Council, it's my pleasure basically tonight to basically notify you, let you know basically of accomplishment of one of our own, Brandon Story, and what he's been able to accomplish. He's successfully met the requirements needed to receive the supervising fire officer designation, and as identified by the Utah Commission on Fire Officer Professionals. With this award, this designated achievement is actually done by documenting a comprehensive body of career development classes, higher education, certification, competencies, and experience based on a criteria developed by the International Association of Fire Chiefs. This program was adopted by the Utah Commission of Fire Officer Professional Development. This is actually a big deal for Roy Fire because this is our first individual that's done that. This designation is new. It's only been out for a few years, but it still is getting across. And so there's only so many fire officer designations that are done each year. And this will be highlighted in October, in the October edition or fall edition of the Utah Fire and Rescue Academy's newsletter and stuff as well. So he'll have a little blurb in there, and it'll keep going for a few more months. But it's definitely worth it. He's demonstrated a commitment basically not only to the profession and his own self-improvement by following an ongoing path of this professional development. He's done hundreds of hours, not just a few. This is hundreds of hours. That, you know, we have a requirement of a few hundred a year, but this is over a multiple year period that he's done this. Education, experience, and all the things he's put together to be recognized for this award. So please join me with personally thanking Battalion Chief Brandon Story for this hard work and his dedication to such a valuable program and is serving as a firefighter of Utah and the citizens of Roy. And if we could get Brandon and his family to come up, there's also a pin that I'd like to give him as well, and maybe get a couple pictures and things like that.
I think that's perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Chief. Congratulations. Thank you. Brandon.
Thank you very much.
I think I can recommend you to a good barber, so
Please.
I think.
Brandon, I think that did not come easy. Just share with you, if you don't mind, share with all of us maybe your thoughts in terms of this achievement. Just take a second.
There's not really much extra else to say than Chief Golden already said. There's a lot of things that you have to put together and present, classes that you take, experience hours, time on the job. It all gets submitted to an organization of chiefs in different agencies and counties that kind of review everything. It has to be put together and presented properly and meet a bunch of criteria with education and experience. It's something that's been put together by a lot of the, like he said, the international fire chiefs with the state and back east with the National Fire Academy. There's classes and things that they do there as well, but it kind of helps just to kind of bring the department up to speed with kind of what everybody else is doing across the country and getting some higher level education and stuff in place. So thank you. Thank you for your efforts.
Yeah, congratulations.
Council, anybody else want to make a comment?
You had a good mentor and leader behind you. Appreciate your father's efforts to the city as well. And
Hey, Brandon, how many out of the 38 year, because you're my son's age, I've known you since junior high. 38, right?
what year did you graduate?
So how many years you been a fireman out of those 38 years? Since you was 20.
18 years. Wow.
Well, great job, Brandon.
Other comments, council? Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, we got to consideration resolution 22-14, a resolution adopting the Roy Days bag policy. Matt, you are the chief. Andy, you're going to talk to this? Chief, we're going to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Since we last spoke, I have worked with our legal team in addressing all the concerns, trying to find a compromise between obviously accomplishing the public safety mission, given large crowds, but as well as addressing the concerns that was brought up. And so what we have here is some just suggested or proposed signage that will be placed in the ordinance that you're going to be looking at tonight. So large backpacks won't be allowed. If they're clear vinyl or PVC backpacks, they will be allowed. If they're like clutch purses and stuff like that, they will be allowed. If they're bags that are needed for ADA purposes, those will be allowed. And as always, the officer at the gate will have discretion as to whether or not someone will be coming in with or without a particular bag.
Okay, comments, council?
So I have a question. So when we, if this is adopted, is this like a forever thing? And is that for just the Roy City Day events, or is that for this year?
As far as the time frame, that's a question probably for Andy, but it is specific to this event at that specific location and only encompasses the area that will be fenced in, which we're identifying as, I guess, the event area.
That's only for this event.
For a one-time thing?
For the one-time event.
And what
Is it
about?
something that you'd like to see continue on in the future, or it's something that I think when the meetings are held next year to plan for Roy Days, it's something that we need to consider and tailor it towards that. And I think it should be re-looked at again at that time.
What about T-sacks? Like sometimes vendors will have T-sacks that they put a product in, or you buy food and you have that sort of thing.
If they're getting that from the vendor within
inside,
within the
Mhm.
area, then that'll be okay. They just won't be allowed to bring it into the area from outside.
And so what is it specifically that's being looked for? When I was listening to the recording, is it just weapons or drugs, or what is it that we're really what is this trying to avoid? What are you looking for with this?
Well, mostly this is going to serve as a deterrent.
Yeah.
But we had a incident in a city next to us wherein a person came in and was deploying aerial fireworks amongst the crowd. Obviously, we're going to be looking for contraband that shouldn't be there or is illegal to possess. And so we're hopeful that if you want to bring that in, that when you get to the gate, you'll see the sign, you'll decide, well, I don't want to get caught with that, and I'll turn around and take it back to my car. Quite honestly, we've had issues in the past. Like we've mentioned, this has been up for discussion every year, at least for the last 2 years that I'm aware of, because we've had incidents that have escalated significantly each year. And this is a conversation that we have had each year. And finally, we decided this year we're going to have to do something because there are some concerns about retaliation. Some of the juveniles that were involved in a neighboring city have been involved here. Some of them cannot even be located to be contacted and talked to regarding that particular incident. We had another incident north of us that incorporated quite a few of our youth locally that traveled to another city. So we're just looking for evidence that something may be coming, and we're looking for anything we can do to prevent it from occurring or escalating.
And
if I might add, this is very similar to what you'd see if you were going to a football game at one of the colleges. You have an enclosed area, and this is similar. Some of it's taken from, I think it's the National
Can't hear you.
Cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah, would you put the microphone? I can't hear you
But-
very well.
So it fits in with what's being done at other events across the country, too.
So does this create a safe zone?
This does not create a safe zone. And we're not trying to surprise anybody by what we're doing. You will see by looking at the proposed sign that this language is consistent with other large events anywhere else you will go, whether public or private.
So for what, for example, you've got performers that will have bags or instruments and that sort of thing. I don't know where that fits in for allowable or not,
That
but
doesn't fit into this. That is wholly unrelated.
and so things that that will be more at the discretion of the officers. So if someone brings in a bag, I remember you talked about the baby diaper bag and stuff like that, but so it could still be at the discretion of
It
the
will be at the discretion of
officer.
the officer, and as far as vendors are concerned, they can work directly with Jody
Right.
as far as
Mhm.
getting equipment in and out of the facility.
Yeah.
And for getting the word out, is that, I guess, just social media right now, or just as they come up to the event, then they'll see that, or is there a?
So there will be a social media campaign, it's my understanding. We'll have it on our Facebook page. I'm sure we can reach out to Jody. Jody could get it on her Facebook page. I know that the Roy community page is active. I'm almost certain that that will be shared. And then the signage when we get there. People will likely be inconvenienced, but even when they go to facilities where they know this is the policy, they continue to try to get stuff into the facility. And so we'll just have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
And again, with the limited scope of this just being for the current Roy Days, I mean,
So is there just going to be one entrance then?
There'll be 4 entrances.
So you just have officers at
We'll
every
have
entrance?
officers at each one.
So obviously, if an elderly lady walks 3 blocks and she has her bigger purse, you're going to let her
We
in.
can use discretion.
discretion.
Yeah.
Discretion is the key phrase.
Was there any words on there that said bags may be searched? Is that
Yeah.
is up on the top?
It
Yes.
says it, yeah.
So you allow teenagers who have small
Subject to
little
search.
backpacks on their back, which all my grandkids have.
If they're under a certain size or if they're clear, and again, the officer discretion, those concerns that you addressed last time we met,
Okay.
those have been addressed. They will be fine.
Okay, and my question on the search, that's done by the officers, not our city employees,
Correct.
Okay.
I am not inclined to put any city employee who is not in a position to respond in the position of searching bags.
Okay.
But we all agree that police officers are city employees, right? Okay, anybody
Well-
else? Anybody else have a comment? Okay, great answers. Appreciate that, Chief. Did well. Then with that, this consideration resolution 22-14, a resolution adopting Roy Day's bag policy. Do I have a motion then to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve 22-14.
Thank you, Sophie.
I'll
Do I have a
second it.
second? Thank you. Ann, okay, this is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Wilson,
You, Diane, you're thinking through this. It's okay. Just go ahead. Take your time, Diane. You're okay.
So I have a question before I make that vote.
I've
You know how,
already got a motion on the table.
my understanding is you can still make a discussion before you answer as a vote. Is that correct? Okay. So in regards to other events that have bags, and people can bring in their bags, but they have, but they know that they will be searched. In this, it says that, it's prohibited to have sorts of things like, and I know it's at discretion, but where does that fit in regards to, what's allowable or not? There are a lot of events that have these sorts of things, but the people know, they come in and they're just searched. How does that fit in? Why was that maybe not considered or not put in? It was probably considered. Why was that not put in?
I guess I'm not understanding
So
the
you
question.
go to an event and you have a bag. You go to the rodeo, you have a bag. They look through your bag. So it's not that you can't take the bag in, but they look through your bag. And I was just wondering why that was not included.
Probably all the items, it's probably all the items that would be considered contraband might be too long to list, so that would be my guess. But I would say this is consistent with what we've seen throughout the country for similar bag policies.
And in the previous discussion, we were also worried about long lines and stuff. So typically, like at the Delta Center, Vivina Center, you can anticipate a long wait, and we didn't want that to enter Roy Days.
Well, and a lot of those are also sending you through metal detectors as well,
Yes.
where we will not be.
We won't be doing that.
And the contraband we're talking about is narrow in scope, meaning stuff that would ordinarily be identified in state statute as contraband. Nothing else.
Okay, I got a roll call vote on the table. Diane?
Nay.
Okay.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Joe Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Sophie Paul. Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Would approve.
I just think that if
Thanks,
it's
Chief.
a horrible thing this year, then we'll have to revisit it.
Agreed.
I mean, if it's, I mean, I see fanny pack on there, and I know a lot of my friends, that's all they wear is little fanny packs. I don't know why that's prohibited, but
I got some Clear University of Utah backpacks if you want to borrow them.
that what? Oh.
Did you say Utah State University? I'm not sure I got that right. Okay. I think, to your point, Ann, the beauty of what we're trying to do, and I think this is evident in what's happening here, we're learning, and we will grow again this year from what we learned. And I think we just have to recognize that every year will be different, and every year we're going to learn something new, and that we need to be adaptable enough to allow us then to make the appropriate changes as we need to ensure public safety. It is all about our residents. It's all about the public, and it's critical that we do our part to ensure that to take place. They got to have a great time. I'd love to be honest with you, Ann, back in the days, and you remember when you didn't have to lock your front door.
Yep.
Never had to hassle, never had to lock our cars. Never was a problem. That was the past. Today, the chief will tell you that's not how it is. We have to adapt, and certainly we're trying to do that. And of course, our effort would be is to ensure everybody comes through this this great event safe and have an enjoyable time. So, I commend you in terms of the effort. Thanks, Chief, for providing the details. And let's go ahead and we'll move on then to a consideration of Resolution 22-15, specifically an interlocal agreement between Weber County and the Children's Justice Center funding. Matt?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. As presented before you, 2215 is an interlocal agreement between us and Weber County, not us and the CJC, the Children's Justice Center. So Weber County, we've talked about this in the previous two council meetings, so I'll just be brief here, but Weber County will be the owners of this. This does not obligate us this does not obligate the budget for the $142,000. This is the interlocal agreement saying to Weber County that we were going to participate with the building of the CJC. So if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay, council, do you have any questions or comments relative to Resolution 22-15?
When you say it doesn't obligate us to that amount, does that mean that that amount could go up or down?
In the interlocal agreement, it is stated as 142,895. What I meant to mean is saying that it doesn't approve the budget to actually pay that yet. That will have to be a different vote.
And that, my understanding is, can come out of the ARPA funds.
Correct. Yep. Okay.
Which we have 4.3 million in ARPA funds.
Ish. Yes, we have obligated nearly 1.5 for a lift station, and then thereafter. So.
And do we already pay a specific fee for each of our residents or clients that go to that program?
No, we do not.
So this would be our total contribution as opposed to we don't pay a specific amount?
Yep.
Thank you.
Correct, and this is basically just a continuation of the services that we're currently consuming, is that correct, with the current CJC, but now Weber County is the intermediary?
Well, I think it's a little broader conversation. CJHC, there currently is a facility by which they use. That facility is inadequate in terms of what's taking place. We don't pay for that service, except that we do pay in some property taxes going into Weber County, who basically more or less manages that with volunteer funds. This is a construction project to basically build a new one. But there are no provisions within this agreement that there will be any follow-on costs, which means the operational costs will still be maintained by the volunteers or the county in terms of providing the service. We're just simply offering a one-time funds to help build with all the other communities and the county to help build a brand-new facility to meet the current requirements.
Right, I was just thrown off by the use of the term interlocal, so that's that. I'm queuing off of that.
Just an
that's why.
interlocal agreement.
Yeah.
Are we any closer? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
And I don't know if this has to do with this. Are we any closer to knowing how many cities are contributing to that or not?
I've not heard, no.
Okay.
No, but before, now, Matt probably needs to clarify, but the final amount will be done during the budget on the 16th. Is that correct? Because that's when
Yeah,
we
we would have
finalize
to
the budget.
allocate that in the budget or an amendment to that budget.
Right.
Is
But
that the last
easiest way
day?
would
Like, is
be-
that when they need it? Or have they
No,
said?
they haven't necessarily told us what they need it by, but that would probably be the easiest process
Okay.
to allocate that.
This would just be a resolution to approve it, but you need to finalize that with the budget adjustment, which we think will take place on the 16th or shortly thereafter. Okay? Any other questions relative to this resolution?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I
Go
do
ahead.
have one.
Thanks.
In regards to Sophie's question and the aspect that the county is now donating, whether or not all of the other cities do, will that change the momentum forward if some of the cities don't? I understand that that it will probably continue, but does that change it at all that you're aware of?
Really, I guess it could. I've heard from county folks that they are donating and that some of the smaller cities might not. But I'm not sure. I can't speak for them.
Okay, thank you.
The original agreement, Diane, was said all the cities. The county made an agreement they would donate $1 million to this project, but under the condition that all cities basically do their part. And I know some of the cities have stepped up and going to do that. I'm not so sure all of them. I think, Matt, you and I could find that answer before you basically see it in a budget discussion, okay? We'll have an answer for that for you, because I think that's important. I certainly don't think Roy City should have to pay any more than what we're obligated to provide. Therefore, but other cities need to step up at the same token, do their part. And I would expect then that we do that. And I'll check with the mayors, and Matt, we can certainly check with the city managers, and we'll find that answer, okay?
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 22-15, an interlocal agreement with Weber County for the Children's Justice Center funding.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, and I have a second. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Joe Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Sophie Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, this is continuation of ordinance number 22-6, the amendment to the Title 10 zoning regulations, specifically dealing with maximum building height. Steve, we'll turn it over to you. This is a continuation of a motion that was actually presented and the council tabled a few meetings ago. So, who would like to speak? Steve, please.
Just yell louder. There we go. Okay, so kind of go back. There was two sections of the code that needed to be amended. Chapter 10, within that table, 10.1, it talked about maximum building height of 35 feet as measured per building code. So it wasn't necessarily looking at what zoning code required. It was all about building code. So we were looking to amend by just removing the building code as amended. So again, it stayed within zoning, not referring to building code. The other one, I just wanted to kind of give you a history of it. So in 1953, building height, kind of talked about vertical distance to grade. For coping roofs and stuff, it would be at that line. For gabled and pitched roofs, it was midpoint. The language hasn't changed. In 73, the next ordinance, 2004, and again in 2005. It's always been midpoint between the peak and the eaves for all pitched and hip type roofs. So when the Planning Commission looked at it, they kind of again went through it, keeping in mind that they liked to continue the measurement to midpoint between the eaves and the ridge, but also understood that there are sections of the city that are also on a slope. So they came up with some ideas after researching several different cities in Utah and one outside of Utah, with the language as appears before you. So the average maximum vertical height of an enclosed building measured by taking at least one measurement from each facade, with a total of at least 4 measurements, but not more than 8 of the entire building. Measurements shall be equidistant points around the building at finished grade to the highest point. Second paragraph, the highest point, it was really just rearranging it, but it's still from midpoint between the lowest eaves and the cornice or ridge of the peak. Parts that they included were architectural features that don't add floor area or enclosed building or structures, such as parapet walls, chimneys, flagpoles, bell towers, steeples, vents, and roof equipment, including for concealing of mechanical equipment, staircases, and elevator shafts, and unenclosed decks and porches are not considered as part of the building height. The Planning Commission did spend several meetings looking at this. In fact, even when they had the public hearing, someone brought up a point that they wanted to look at, so they tabled it from that meeting, went to another work session, talked out how it could be stated in order to solve that one issue, brought it back to their next meeting, and this is what's in front of you. Now, there's been changes since the last meeting to this. It's mainly the first paragraph where Andy and I sat down and we reworded that because there was some confusion of exactly what was being said, how it was being said. So we feel that the first paragraph is worded better so it's more clear. Again, these are just kind of samples of what equidistance could be. Again, these aren't, the image on the left, it's not exact. I eyeballed it when I drew it. Again, it was just kind of giving an idea of equidistance apart, and then also image of what midway is and or top of coping. So staff would recommend 22-6 is written. And again, whoops, wrong direction. Just can make it worse. And then Planning Commission also recommended with a vote of 6-0 to approve it as written.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Comments, council?
Well, I believe we were discussing that the change of having the height be to the top of the roof would be, I think, a better and more uniform, more understandable way to write it. And in looking at the examples that were given, all but three of those did have midway between, but the rest do take it to the top of the roof. And I believe that the architectural elements discussed, such as a parapet and the screening, would be better to not, they need to be within that height inclusion because of the ability. Some parapets, they're across the entire roof. They can be anywhere from 10 feet sometimes and less, as well as, less, usually not much higher than that. And I believe that the decks and porches that are unenclosed, some of those, if they have lattice work or if they have a lot of growth there, that can end up causing a wall. And if you have it across the entire roof, that could be a problem. In some other cities, they have used that and allowed that, but done it with like a 6-foot window, like a 6-foot width and a 6-foot length. So they have 36 square foot, so they could have a gazebo on top and make a nice patio, but not have it so it's across the entire length of the roof, which in essence increases the height of that. Of note, I also wanted just to mention, I had some engineers and designers go through the equidistant points, and interestingly, when they first took this agenda, they said they thought that more points would be more beneficial, but when they went through the examples, and they had examples of different buildings that they were working on, they ended up going with 8 equidistant points. They used the Bend, Oregon option, and then they did just the highest and the lowest. Surprisingly, doing the highest and the lowest actually ended up about the same. It was all a wash. And so one benefit would be that would save a lot of work on the developer, the designer, the engineers, and it would also save a lot of work for our building inspectors because it would be hard for them to look at those equidistant points and see if that was actually met. So that might make it a lot easier, but those are the points that I think would be very beneficial to this. And again, I want to thank you, Steve, for all of the effort you put into those cities. That was very helpful and very beneficial. Thank you.
My comment is maximum height's maximum height.
Math doesn't lie.
I do realize the challenge that's going to create. You said of a maximum height of 35 foot, developers are going to come in with flat roof buildings. There's not going to be any character, pitch, nothing to the roof because they're looking for maximum buildable space. I still think maximum though. I would say to the peak because you're going to take a 35-foot building and it's going to end up being 40 feet by the time you put all the adornments and yada, yada, yada on it. And we've said 35 feet was the maximum. So that's my comment.
Other comments, council?
So are you, I guess what are you proposing we just keep the ordinance as is and we don't change or?
No, I would propose that maximum height's measured to the peak of the roof.
To the peak of the roof? Rather than at the equidistant points?
Well,
it would be changed from the midpoint from top and eaves.
Okay.
What it currently is to just the top.
That's what my proposal would be.
Well, any other comments before I make a comment? Let me just offer one other thought. So I want for clarification, Steve, so help me with this one. We're talking about amending 1031-1, which basically is I like to look at it as more the definition component, okay? It kind of explains a little bit, and you've done a pretty good job in your explanation of how it be defined. So I look at that as being that any building within that requirement be measured if it's approved based on that, how you defined it with the building height. Steve, I pulled the requirement out of the accessory buildings. I want to point that out to you, council. It basically takes a measurement of maximum 25 feet from ground level to the very top, okay, or at the very peak of that. Similar to your point I think you're making, Councilman Paul, okay? I guess my question would be is, if the council approves this tonight based on the definition we put in 1031-1, then would the requirement to get to 25 feet max, would that now be midway?
No.
So this would be exception.
The way the ordinance is written for accessory building is different. It does specify peak of roof because it wants it to be and appear as a single level building.
Right.
Not a multiple level building. So that's why the language was changed, added to that way.
I just want to make sure we have the clarification.
Accessory building doesn't deal with this. This is for main buildings.
Okay. Reason why is the definition in 1031-1 is the definition for everything found within the ordinance. But we're indicating that for accessory buildings, there's a different definition of building height allocated to that.
Correct.
I sense that's a little confusing, but I'll take your word for it.
And real quick, Diane, to your point, you were saying that when you took it out to your engineers, no matter if they did 4 points or 8 points, the math never lied. It was always pretty much within a margin of error variance.
About a foot.
Right.
Well, here's what we got. Council, any other comments? Okay, I sense there's two conversations here. One would be, in essence, a further clarification if it goes that way, or approving the ordinance as written is presented to you. So what I'm going to ask for then, in light of there's no more comments, I'm going to ask then.
I just wanted to ask Steve.
Please.
So Steve, I had brought that information to you, and I was just wondering, what are your thoughts after you had a chance to look at all those different calculations in simplifying it to the highest and lowest versus, 4 or 8 points?
Well, as I mentioned, that particular point, if you want to make it highest and high point and low point, I'm fine. To me, that doesn't, again, your calculations didn't really change. I mean, it was with inches or a foot, and again, most developers are going to squeeze out as much as they can. So if they could get 4 points and it gives them a little bit more, they'd rather prefer that. But again, it wasn't much. So if you wanted to change the first paragraph to, instead of one measurement per facade for 4 measurements, equal distance 8, just say high side, low side, I'm fine with changing it that. To me, the second and third paragraphs are more ones that, lack of better words, I'll argue with you on. Because, again, every building that's been built in Roy has been measured midpoint for a pitched roof. As soon as we say that, many people, well, there was one particular building that would not be approved that 2 people live in.
You can call it, it's my house. I didn't build my house, I bought it that way,
Yeah.
so.
So again, yes, it's just tradition. Can tradition change? Yes. But the planning commission really felt that to keep it the same was beneficial for Roy. Again, we're not just looking at the front runner station on the slope, we're looking everywhere. And then the planning commission really felt that the architectural elements that didn't bring in enclosed livable space, because a lot of these buildings, especially downtown, and maybe even some at the front runner station, are gonna have rooftop gardens. And what's wrong with having a lattice or a trellis or something that's on top of that to provide those,
Well, the whole reason's maximum height is maximum height, so
Well, but that-
call it what it is. I mean, if we're gonna allow adornments in the maximum height,
Okay, I'm
above
just
the
telling you what
maximum
the planning
height.
commission, what their
Yeah,
reasoning
what their-
was.
So, Joe, when you're thinking about that, would you maybe change the wording to say chimneys, vents, flagpoles are allowed but not parapet walls, screening, and
Yeah, I don't have a
decks
problem with a
and
chimney, a flagpole,
porches?
smaller items like that, but when you start doing parapets and screening and all that, I mean, you can put whatever you want behind the screening, and you've just added 5-6 feet to it.
For a big building, then you go, if I can't screen it as part of the height, or not the height, where's the unit's gonna go?
I get it, but we've also taken a lot of public comment when we did the downtown district that we said maximum height is maximum height, regardless of what's on top of the roof. That's maximum height. That's what people are looking at as maximum height.
Can we set like a 6 foot or whatever it is lattice? Because I agree with
Lattice screening.
the screening, yeah, the gardening, but don't have it be
Well, I mean,
huge.
An
Is there-
80-foot tall building, they're gonna probably have very little screening, because from 1900 west, you're not gonna see much.
right.
Especially if they put it back towards the building. But a 40-foot building,
Right.
they're gonna have to screen, because it's easier to put it on top of the roof, than you can still have landscaping and parking down on the ground. So it really comes down to, do you hurt them and say, you gotta screen it, and that's not part of your, that's part of your overall height, and all of a sudden the building has to shrink 6 feet? Or do you allow it to, because it is a requirement elsewhere to screen that stuff?
Well, let me ask this question, council, just a basic questions. Are you ready to vote on this as written, or do you think there needs to be more modification or adjustments?
Not as written.
Because I'm getting a lot of different views of this, and I'm not so sure the clarity was provided to you so you can make what appears to be a decision. I don't have a problem taking a motion to basically table again, let's go back and revisit this. But I am going to go for a motion unless I hear something to ask you whether or not you'll approve this proposal as written. And at the end of the day, if you're not, then it's not. Then we'll come back and revisit
Well,
it.
we can adjust it in council meeting. We don't have to table it and push it back. Let's make the adjustments and move forward.
Then somebody give me a motion with an amendment, and let's move with a motion with an amendment.
You're probably a better wordsmith than I am, Diane.
Well,
Give me a motion. Motion to approve.
I move to approve ordinance 22-6 with the following changes: to keep the height of the building at the top of the roof, and to eliminate architectural elements such as parapet walls, roof equipment, screening, unenclosed decks, and porches. Remove that from the architectural element section, so the architectural element would say chimneys, vents, bell towers, steeples, elevator, staircases. Allow that, but remove the other part. And I would like to throw in there that you could have an unenclosed deck with a 6 foot by 6 foot maximum width and length, so people could have that, but that would be similar to some of the architectural elements we've I'd like to add that in there. And I move that as my proposal.
Diane, did you want to put high and low, or 4 points? Or six?
And, oh, thank you, and change the measurement to just the high and low, because I think that simplifies everything for everyone. Thank you for that.
Well, I'm not so sure I want to say you're welcome. You just made that very tough for me, Diane. Okay, obviously there's a recording that's going to be here, so we can get back to that. So, okay, you heard it. So I got a motion then to approve ordinance 22- with the amendments as spoken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so now I have a motion from Diane, and I have a second from Ann. Let's see where this one goes. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Joe Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden,
Nay.
Councilmember Sophie Hall.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. You're going to have to listen to that a couple of times, okay, to make sure you get through that. Thank you. Good discussion, by the way. Ordinance 22-10, amending the Title 10 zoning. This one talks about tattoo and body art. I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve, but you're going to ask someone to speak in your
Yes,
behalf.
I'd like to invite the applicant who's here, Kayla Flores? Kayla, who everybody seems to know, like, and admire.
Thank you.
Did all of you get your folders that I provided to Brittany? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Kayla Flores. My husband and I own and operate Tailored Barber Company located at 5635 South, 3500 West. And I am here tonight to request for amendment of zoning code 10-17-1. In the left pocket of the folder provided is the code. The highlighted portion is what we wish to amend. We are requesting that the following ordinance guidance be kept. All body tattoo and body art establishments shall obtain and maintain in good standing a proper license from Weber Morgan Health Department. It may not be located closer than 600 feet to any other such establishment as defined, or any church, school, or other community center. This will eliminate being oversaturated with tattoo and body arts businesses. We wish to amend the following ordinance clause. The number of such facilities licensed within the city limits may not exceed 1 per every 10,000 or portion thereof of the most recent U.S. Census Bureau estimated population of Roy City. As you can see in the presentation in the provided folder, we are an established barbershop in Roy. We have had the pleasure of serving the Roy community for the last 5 years. We have a 5-star, 1,560 square foot, high-end barbershop with 10 highly trained barbers and a great relationship with the Roy community. We sponsor Roy City School sports and fundraisers every year, community client appreciation where everyone gets a plate of food and a discount coupon. We participate in the Roy Parade and Roy Days every year. We host a coat drive every winter where clients they bring in coats and we take them to the local homeless shelters. We offer a hero discount to all police, military, firefighters, and veterans since the day we opened 6 years ago. We'd like to expand our services and offer tattooing as a secondary within our primary business. We survived COVID, and now we are just trying to survive the current economic climate of inflation across the board. Having a secondary business within our primary business will only maximize revenue by utilizing all the space of our 1,560 square foot space allows, as well as help our small business thrive and funnel right back into the Roy City economy. The current economic climate and market, we all feel it, we all know, but it will not allow us to open a separate shop within a different city for tattoos due to inflated rent prices that go up every year 3%, and it's on a 3 to 5 year lease contract. Please see Exhibit B for letters from our community members, commercial landlord, Weber Morgan County, or Weber Morgan Health Department, and surrounding business owners, as well as our petition with 1,568 signatures within 48 hours of posting from those in the community in support of our tailored tattoos opening in the Roy community. We have reached out to the Roy City community on social media platforms and received an overwhelming amount of support to change this ordinance and are in support of our business expanding services. We received over 300 shares and 400 comments in support of our expansion. Please see our posts on the Roy City community, Roy Utah community, and Citizens of Roy City, Utah Facebook pages. We established a petition explaining our story, our ordinance, roadblock, and our way forward and received 1,568 signatures within 48 hours. Attesting the general sentiment is in favor and supportive of this amendment. Roy has 39,358 people, according to the U.S. Census this year, down 53 from the last census, if you believe that, and currently has 3 tattoo shops on Main Street, meaning that the population would need to be at 40,000 in order to be the 4th tattoo shop in Roy City. Please see page 8 of the presentation provided in the folder for census data reliability. Demographers have found evidence that the pandemic, lockdowns, lack of door-to-door method have contributed to a miscount, as all states are experiencing surprisingly low counts. A recount is expected to be conducted in some major cities. I also urge Roy City to gather all of their data and records of all the housing permits issued for new constructions of homes from 6 months prior to the last census data to now. This will give you a good and much more accurate indication than the census of what has been completed and what is still to come. The census happens every 10 years, which would mean that the possibility, if this ordinance stays in place, of a tattoo shop opening in Roy would have to wait another 10 years before even the possibility. There is currently no tattoo shop within 10 minutes from our establishment in Roy. The change to 1/3 of a mile between same industry businesses, along with keeping the ordinance, may not be located within 600 feet to any church, school, or community center, will ensure Roy does not have a tattoo row. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. I cannot dispute the population data reported by the U.S. Census Bureau for a recount. This process would take 1 to 2 additional years. Therefore, all that I can do is ask for approval of amending the 10-17-1 zoning ordinance. There is no checklist when starting a business. We were not aware that we would need Roy City's approval to open a secondary business within our primary business. We went straight to the health department, received directions on the remodel we would need to do to abide by their requirements, and we got to work. We were never told we needed to go to the city for approval by the health department. Until the remodel was almost done, $10,000 was spent, and 3 body arts licenses were obtained by the Weber Morgan Health Department. We were not aware that we were putting the buggy before the horse. Once we were advised by the city planner, we then obtained a building permit for plumbing through Roy City, which was approved, waited for the census, which was 2 months out, which was released on May 28th at midnight. I stayed up all night and waited for it to come out. And when it came in low, we then started the application process to get through the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was unanimously approved, 7 yeses and 0 noes on July 12th, 2022, to get us to this point and here tonight. In consideration of Section 10-5-9, criteria for approval of a zoning ordinance amendment consideration factors, the goals and policies of the current and proposed general plan is to promote a strong and healthy economic base. Allowing businesses to expand or come into the city does just that. We contribute to the Roy City economy as a service-based industry by selling product and merchandise where sales tax is charged. If approved and approved to open, we will be offering body piercings, which sales tax is also associated with body piercings, as jewelry, aftercare, etc. is sold and charged sales tax. The effect of the proposed amendment on the character of the surrounding area has already been established, as we are an existing business already in the Roy community with an outstanding reputation. This additional service will just be more value added. The compatibility of the proposed use with nearby and adjoining properties is currently allowed in all commercial and manufacturing zones, and we meet the distance requirement, so it has already been determined to be compatible and suitable. We also meet the Weber Morgan Health Department's requirements as well. The overall community benefit is not only we are bringing in other people from other cities into Roy, but also the businesses next to us already benefit from us tremendously. Our clients and employees eat at Royal Dragon weekly. The owner has thanked us as a new business owner within the community for sending all of our business traffic her way, as well as introducing her on the Roy community social media page for more exposure to help her thrive. We also keep flyers and coupons for our adjoining businesses to send them to Royal Drag and keep those interested apprised on Weber State enrollment dates, as well as coupons for Domino's and Twisted Sugar located behind us. The business that gets the most traffic from our clientele, employees, as well as us, is the 7-Eleven within our parking lot. This approval is beneficial to the community overall because we are not only bringing in more people from other cities, but we are in a location where they are funneling their money into the Roy economy by shopping our adjoining businesses in our plaza and parking lot. Please see Exhibit A in the provided folder. This shows the 6 surrounding cities' zoning ordinance restrictions regarding tattoo and body art facilities. Roy City is the only city that restricts this industry based on population. Clearfield City once had this same restriction 1 to 2 years ago, but has since amended their zoning ordinance based on the market demand. In 2022, 9 years after the Roy City ordinance was written, there is now a high market demand for this industry in our community. The salary range for tattoo artists in Utah in 2022 is $36,148 to $43,897. The market size of the tattoo artist industry in the U.S. has grown 8.4% per year on average from 2017 to 2022. The market size of the tattoo artist industry is expected to increase 5.4% in 2022. The market size measured by revenue of the tattoo artist industry is $1.4 billion in 2022. Utah has had a population growth of 1.8% since 2017, and Utah is expected to grow 66% by 2060. Lastly, we understand the ordinance and why it was written, but the ordinance is a bit archaic in terms of why it was likely written. Tattoos in some people's minds is very taboo, as in the thought is a business such as a tattoo shop will bring undesirable people into our neighborhoods, bring down the community, or create a culture that goes against the religious and moral beliefs. We understand and respect everyone's perspective. We would just like to be given the opportunity, the same opportunity as all of our 6 surrounding cities are giving to their business owners, to help change the minds of those who associate every tattoo shop with this stigma and show them that we only want to be a bigger and better part of the Roy community and let our artists, small business, and individual professionals within our business thrive in the city of Roy. Amending this ordinance will not only help grow the Roy City economy, but also help grow the minds and opinions of those who have reservations. We hope to earn your approval to amend 10-17-1 and continue serving within the Roy community. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your research and efforts.
Steve?
So as mentioned, this is amending Chapter 17, Section 1, Table 17-2 for table of allowed uses and non-residential, my TV's off. Residential zones, tattoo body art to remove the number of allowed per census data. When the Planning Commission looked at it, they agreed with that the census, again, is not always accurate, especially this last one. Everybody was in the consensus that we are more than 40,000. It's just unlucky that COVID hit when the census was being done, and door to door for all those that didn't send in their flyer, Kayla, wasn't counted. So a lot of people, again, weren't counted. I can pretty much guarantee we're probably more 41, 42 at the max. So they approved, well, we'll kind of go on. Anyway, when they're looking at it, the zoning ordinance requires them to look at 5 different questions when approving or looking at amending the zoning ordinance. The effect of the proposed amendment to advance the goals and policies of the general plan, the effect of the proposed amendment to the character of the surrounding area, the compatibility of proposed uses with nearby and adjoining properties, the suitability of the properties for the uses requested, and the overall community benefits. So when the Planning Commission looked at it, by allowing businesses to expand or new business to come in, we're achieving that goal of the general plan to bring in more healthy and stronger economic base. The current use is allowed in all commercial and manufacturing zones as a permitted use, with the exception of the number per census data. Otherwise, you'd probably have more of them other than just those that are on 1900. So the character of the surrounding areas won't change. It only affects the amendment allowing within the city. The capability, can't talk.
Compatibility.
The sustainability of the use, again, is already in the commercial and manufacturing zones. The current code looks at surrounding zone uses and the distance required, so it is already determined to be compatible and suitable as a use as it meets the code. And additionally, they asked the question, does changing or not changing the zoning ordinance provide the best options for development within the area of the city? In this case, it would be every commercial and manufacturing zone. So that's a question, I didn't give you Planning Commission's answer to that question. That's something you'll need to kind of reflect upon while you're here. But staff would recommend approving Ordinance 22-10 as written, which is the removal of the census data, the number allowed per census data, leaving everything else the same. The planning commission also, after discussion and how it will affect the city as a whole, recommended 7-0. In fact, the 8th person who was in the audience gave comment during the public hearing in favor of it. So I could almost say 8-0, even only 7 can vote, as written.
Okay, council, questions?
So I'll bring it back to what it, as written.
If you don't have one, I do have one.
Well, I was just thinking, what if we changed it to 1 tattoo every 9,000 residents instead of 10,000?
Technically,
I
I
would be in
think
agreement with
whatever the
that.
council chooses to do, the challenge might be is that if there is in fact another opportunity for somebody to put a tattoo business in.
Yeah.
How many? The question is going to be is how do
I
you
can't
screen
see us
that?
growing 9,000 more.
Well,
I
but
think-
again, I guarantee, I'm of the firm opinion that we have faulty census data, that we did not shrink at all.
Oh, yeah, right.
And to like Steve's point, I believe we're honestly probably closer to 41. And then in 10 years, even with what we have in the pipeline from a development perspective, we will easily be over 45,000. Just with what we
Next
Yeah,
census,
which is 10 years.
But let's ask the harder question.
Right.
The harder question is, so what?
Right. Well, here's the better
What
question
does,
too.
What does the census do in terms of defining whether or not a business should come to
Well, it
Roy or
defines
not?
Agreed.
us right
how
here.
many ordinances do we have for businesses that are dictated by census data?
One.
Well, is there a better way to measure population than the census? I'm all for looking at that.
We just basically, you guys just
s-
voted and painted us into a corner from a developmental perspective. If you look at our peer cities, not a single one of them has a population requirement.
Why should they?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the community support was horribly overwhelming in favor of this. I mean, if we did a quick straw poll, how many people have family members that have tattoos? Yeah, this guy. I mean, raise your hand. Yeah, thank you. How many have coworkers? Yeah, exactly. I mean, are we calling all these people degenerates? Because again, the market
Are
is
you putting
demanding.
words in my mouth?
Maybe.
Because I didn't call anybody.
No,
I
but
think
I'm
there's
just saying,
a
it's-
lot of
it's-
respectable people in the
Agreed.
audience.
100% agree, but there's this weird stigma that we feel we should have to only apply business licensing to tattoo parlors in our ordinance. Again, only one type of business has that. We didn't even do that to car washes.
We got
And
close.
these guys will generate more sales tax revenue
We did get
than
close.
car washes ever will if they do piercings.
Yeah, I think the heart of the conversation really has to be is population really a critical component to determine whether
No.
a business beds down or not?
No, absolutely
so-
not. Why are we dictating to the free market based upon
Agreed.
something that happens every 10 years? Makes zero sense.
So-
are we for free market economics, or are we here to take in control based upon, what the census data comes out at?
Okay, so Randy, with that comment then, I said just at least two of us here believe that using population numbers is an archaic approach in terms of trying to restrict businesses coming into business. And I don't think personally it has bearing in today's market.
No.
So the question then becomes council, if you agree with that principle, then you have a choice to vote on that here in a second. If you still believe that there is a merit in terms of established population to determine whether business comes into Roy or not, then the comment that Councilmember Jackson brought to the table is lower the number. So instead of being at 10,000, which means you got to get 4 at 40,000, change that number to 9, and you can get 9,000. You can get to 4 by getting to 36,000 or some
Right.
other type of number.
I was just thinking that would give them less competition since it's such a specified, it's not, I mean, there's a lot of hairdressers, there's
But
a lot
right.
of car washes, but
Right.
it's such a specified,
Right, but-
I
but-
didn't want you to have as much competition.
But
That's
it,
what
but
I
it's
was
not.
just
It shouldn't
thinking.
be our purview as
So,
a city
right.
council to dictate what the free market will bear. Period. Cut, dry, full stop. That's not free market economics. And again, we are only applying the census information to one singular business,
Right.
a tattoo parlor.
Right. So the question is, and we'll move to a motion here in a second, the question is that the proposal would be is take the population component out of the conversation. If you're supportive of that, then we have a motion then to make a decision. If you sense that that is probably still a viable way by which you can control, I'll use that word freely, what businesses come in, what businesses come out. Then it goes back to the conversation that says, then change the number. If 10,000 is the wrong number because you want to get to 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever, then change the number. You have the latitude to change that number and amend this particular ordinance. What do you want to do? Okay, hearing none.
Well, I want this business to open.
Agreed.
I know that. I mean,
then-
after hearing everything that everybody has said tonight and
Then,
my
Ann?
son-in-law has a few of them tattoos. I don't like needles, so I will never get one.
I'm never going to consume your services, but I do
But-
not want to dictate how you do
But
business in
yeah,
Royce.
I
Then
mean,
Ann,
I'm all for.
Ann, give me a motion then to approve 22-10 as proposed.
Then I motion we approve 22-10.
Okay, as proposed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. Okay. And by the way, there was some great testimony today, and I would suggest you try to advertise that.
You could have.
There's some good words said today.
Well,
Okay?
I think just everybody listening today, you're going to get more customers.
Anyway.
So
I'll
Okay.
send my brother to get his haircut. He has curly hair. I'll send him. Yeah.
We have a presentation.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
I'm excited to see what you guys can bring to Roy. I really am.
Right.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And thank you for your detailed and
Yes.
complete presentation.
Yeah,
I want
this
to know.
was
That was a
amazing.
lot of work.
The rest of
Right
this is
there.
going to be boring, so if you want to leave, I will not. None of us will be offended.
Right. Okay, thank you.
We do have a presentation, fraud risk assessment. Amber? You may want to let the room clear just a little bit before you start speaking.
Can I come shake your guys' hand? Sure.
They're still in a meeting.
What did he say? What did he say? there?
Okay.
They're in line.
I should have made him stay.
Okay, you ready? This is going to be way less exciting than that was right there.
No way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So a few years ago, the state started a requirement that all the cities look at their risk for fraud amongst their organization. And so the way they wanted the cities to do that is they started this questionnaire that we go through and fill out. We do this every year annually, and then we present it to the governing body. So you'll be seeing this every year. If you've been on the council before, then you probably remember it from last year. So the second page in your packets, you have the questionnaire that we go through and give ourselves points for doing different things. Adding up all of those points, we received a score of 335 out of 395, which puts us in the low category of risk, which is very good. The next page on there is the basic separation of duties, where we go through and check if we have separated duties amongst mostly people that handle cash and do bank reconciliations and things like that, just to make sure that we have checks and balances to keep everybody honest and that there isn't a high level of risk amongst our organization. And our auditors actually go through and evaluate this every year also as part of the audit. So it is looked at every year by them, and they give us recommendations of ways that we can do things better. And we have checked every box there that we have done everything that we can do within our organization. So I just wanted to present this to you that shows we have a low level of risk for fraud for Royce City. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions, comments?
I do have a question on number 4. Are employees and elected officials required to annually abide or have a writing? Is that, what would that entail, and where does that fit in the picture?
So you would have to do all of the employees within the organization, so that would include all of our part-time
I see.
staff.
Okay.
And it would become kind of more difficult to administer that than it's probably worth. I do think it's a good idea, but like I said, it's very difficult administratively to go through and do that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, good question. Other questions, comments? Okay, Amber, well done. Okay, obviously we're still doing good. Low risk. Thank you. Okay, we now have Arts Council. Marge? It's good to see you again.
I just want to tell Randy I'm not that boring.
No, I've never said you are.
No, but you invited them to leave so that...
You're such a good listener.
Just joking.
I know.
So, we just got through registering for the art show, which was, wow, what a long day. We spent all the time from 10 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. We had over 67 entries come into it, and we were just really happy with it. We had several that spent a lot of hours, and that's why I asked them to be here tonight, because they donated their time. We do it all on a voluntary basis. So I'm going to have them stand up. Jean George, she's in charge of the art show with all the ribbons and prizes and everything. Her sister Janet Beepgrass and Janine Williams and myself spent the entire day there. Lynette Satterfield, who is not here this night, spent some time too. We also have Diane Wilson, that is our liaison from the council, and we really appreciate her. So, and then Jolene Zito, who is not here tonight. So you have been given a sheet showing what our budget has been. We keep track of everything that we do. This year we doubled the price for people coming into the art show, and we didn't have any complaints about it, so I guess we're okay at that. We brought in $650 from the art contestants coming in, and then we have a list there of all the things that are needed, supplies and different things that are needed for the contest. Cash prizes will be awarded this Saturday at 11:30, and we would like all of you to be there. That would be wonderful. We have done it in the past in the big theater at the library, but we're going to move to one of the community rooms because we think that'll be more cozy and easier for us. So. Also, in addition to the art show, we started, I don't even remember how many years ago it was with COVID coming on and everything, but we started a gingerbread contest for the young folks, and this was in conjunction with our Christmas lighting program. We're going to try it again this year. Hopefully, we will be able to do that. And so that was quite a fun thing for the kids to be able to
I know that was
participate.
missed last year.
It was.
Everyone asked where that was.
Right.
So I'm glad to see it back on here.
We're glad to have that. Concerts in the park, we are very excited about that. That has been, even though it's been hot, we've loved it. And we have one more coming up on the 9th of September. Next year, we are really thinking seriously of doing 6 of them. So
Perfect.
probably 2 a month, and so we do have several groups that are interested in doing it. We're also going to do this year a poetry contest, and that is planned for the 9th of March. That'll be our registration time, and this will be for youth that are junior high through high school. And then the awards and the reading of the poetry will be presented on the 18th of March. And the library has agreed to hang those and let them have their accolades because of it. So we have contacted Roy Jr., Sandridge, and Roy High School, the English departments, and let them know ahead of time so that they can plan that into their curriculum, and hopefully that'll give us some things. We are constantly looking for things to do. If there's things that you want us to do, that you would like seen come into being, we would love to hear from you. And We like to keep our website going. Lynette Satterfield is going to keep that going and get things current so that we have feedback from the city. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you all for like your guys' efforts. I've done the concert in the parks now and absolutely love them. They're fantastic. The venue is beautiful. Even though it's hot, we're at least shaded. So, I mean, I don't know if that was by design, but well done there.
Well, of course it was.
Exactly.
So I just have a question. So the cash awards was $22.75, but
yes,
but you only give 3 places, right?
Okay, we give.
Because we all just pick the top 3 when we judge.
Okay, so let me tell you, we have a best of show, and then the council award. We also have the Arts Council award, and then in each of the different areas, professional, amateur, seniors, youth, and juniors.
Okay.
We have a first, second, and third place.
Okay.
Sometimes we will, depending on what we end up with, we will have an honorable mention. And then we have also the quilting, and usually we have hand stitched and machine. This year we only had machine stitched.
Okay,
And
that
then-
makes me happy because I was thinking that you only gave those 3. And I'm like,
Oh.
there's so many good amateur ones
there-
and
yeah,
so
we
many.
do.
Oh
Well,
my
we've
gosh,
got-
I was blown away at the talent.
Have 2 pages of
Oh,
awards.
wow,
so-
awesome.
And then we opened up, unbeknownst to us, we had some wood pieces come in this year.
Yep.
And we thought, okay, where do they fit? So we opened up on that day a 3D.
Yeah.
And so we will continue that one too, because
Perfect.
that was really neat.
So on the poetry, will there be a theme? Or just?
Yes, we will have a theme. We haven't decided that yet, but we'll get all that information to them by their work days coming up so that they will be able to plan that into their curriculum. And
That's a great idea. Nevaeh's already thinking of a poem.
Already, I want to do it. Yeah, it
Right.
sounds so fun.
Yeah.
So what's your total budget? Like I'm seeing a bunch.
okay, so we did part of this with the grant from ramp tax.
Okay.
And then we've been under Parks and Rec, and they've fit us in. And so budget-wise, we don't have a lot coming in. The art show, we do charge them, and we will for the poetry also. But we don't have a working budget as such. We do have $500 that's set aside for flyers and banners and supplies, so.
So just $500 is what you work on?
Yeah, do you want to give us some more?
We need to have that discussion.
Well, I think
We did this
Sophie's
year.
We
point, Marge, is a good
have-
point.
We have a rainy day fund
Right.
of a lot of money, and I think there's a lot that goes into this, and I think there's a lot of time. And little things that I think of to get more people into the concert in the parks. Maybe you do, I know it's at the library, popcorn and water to attract more people. I don't know.
Fine.
Then I got to have a cleanup crew.
Okay.
Well,
Randy will volunteer.
Yeah, Randy.
I know people that know people.
But
so.
And we
to
don't.
add a
we
little
really-
bit.
We really don't mind if people bring something to drink or if they want to eat, but we do suggest that they take
Take their
whatever
trash
they
Get
brought
with
in
them.
with them,
I
take it out.
agree.
What is
So
the first place prize?
Agree.
How much money do they get for first place
On the-
in the art contest?
in the regular areas, they get $100.
Okay.
The second place is 75, and third is 50.
Oh, okay,
And then best of show is 200.
okay.
So
What if we had a little bit more of a budget to maybe advertise a little more, to maybe put some of those, like the Roy High does those big things that said game night. Maybe you did something like that said concert in the park tonight. Maybe people would
I would love it
see-
if you would do that.
But Sophie, here's the
concert part's
question.
free.
No, you're getting great point. The question I think we need to ask would be, is currently now under Travis's budget.
Okay.
The question I'm sensing is, should this be moved to the legislative budget? Should it be the council's budget? In which case, the 6 of us and Matt basically has. Because
good. Sounds
some of
good
the
to
things
me.
you're recommending, and they're really great ideas, they do need funding behind you. And rather than maybe Travis have to gamble bad word, have to balance then all of his requirements that if the legislative budget could be used, and you probably got 100 some odd thousand in there to help the Arts Council, maybe that's a better place to fund
That's
them.
what I would suggest, just to give it.
Right now, there is currently just $500 just for the Arts Council in there, but there's also council contingency of like 21,000, so.
Yeah.
Right, but we have a little bit more money to play with as far as
Absolutely.
when
Well,
she
then-
comes in with a need and says, I found a sign, or I would like to do flyers, or I would like to make T-shirts for the council, volunteer shirts. It's nice when you walk in there. Me walking in, I don't know who's in charge of this. I don't know what you're doing. I had to ask the library ladies where the stuff was, and they didn't know. It was.
That's one thing I would suggest, because
Yeah.
I walked in there and I'm like, where's the library? Where's the art? And 3 people had to go ask, and then finally one person in the library even knew that there was the art.
Well, and that's because it was not a regular time. They're there Monday through Friday, and every one of those people know about it.
Know
So
about it.
It was just the Saturday staff that did not
okay,
know.
yeah. Okay.
And in years past, you noticed where the photography was this
Right.
year. In years past, it was out there on that main
Oh.
All
drag.
together on that main wall.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
And so we will make sure that happens next year,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. My motion or my recommendation would be switch that to the legislative budget and her be able to come in and say, we've got an idea. What do you think?
So how would that work in regards to support staff? So right now we have Parks and Rec helping you with some things and assisting. Is that just a budget movement? Is that how that would work?
That's
And
right.
you'd still be under Parks and Rec, or for us?
I guess we would
staff?
have the mayor lift and carry everything for us. So.
Thank you, Marge. But it
I'd
does
vote
bring
for
up a good
that.
point. The question I think there's suggesting is that do you want the council to have a little bit more involvement? Obviously, Diane's on there. There's a council member representative, but certainly we could offer some more help.
That
The
would be great.
dynamics and the potential of what the Art Council is capable of doing is endless. You see that in other cities. I mean,
Right.
they're struggling in some areas that you guys perfect. And my comment would be is I think it's just incredible what you can do. And if there's any resources that we can offer to help you to be this cultural change that you're bringing about within our society, why don't we do that? I mean, the venues are all there. You're exposing, in my opinion, Marge, things that we never see in our society. I can't tell you how Ann and I talked in your art show, but we could not walk away just incredibly impressed by the talent that
They're
we
very
witnessed there.
talented.
And you've exposed that. You have brought that out of the bowels of our organization, and we're seeing things we've never seen before. I've never seen a council member play a fiddle, and I witnessed that, okay? Your program
Or
offers
sing.
things we've never seen before, and it's exciting that you're able to do that. So how can we help you to do that? I like your comment about 6 more next year. Wonderful. Could you come back to us with a budget and say, hey, we're thinking maybe if you can give us this kind of a budget, we could work that with you? And then anything that you need above that budget, we can have that conversation? Let's do this.
And wouldn't you have to reapply for that ramp every year?
Yes.
Because I know Jolene, she's not going to probably do that no more, right?
Well, they've asked her to come back on again, and she hasn't given them an answer yet. So,
Yeah, because
yeah.
that's important that you get that again, so.
And I want to let you know, we have a professional muralist who has approached us and wants to join us, the Arts Council. I believe he's talked to you, hasn't
Yes.
he, Bob? He wants to do murals in Roy. He's from Roy. He says, I helped with the Junction City. I helped with the horses. I helped with it. Why can't I help in my own city?
Yeah.
So you know what we did? He's joining our Arts Council.
awesome.
And then one of our male artists I've been in this business 27 years, and he's probably been in 25 of my art shows. And we're going to ask him to join us too, because he's just so dynamic. And he's an older guy, but he's on the ball in that. So we've got all these additional things that we can bring for given the opportunity.
Right. And then who's the muralist? What's his name?
He's a gardener, and he lives here in Roy. I met him through Ellis Printing because I work with another foundation, and Mr. Ellis said, well, I'll do all your printing for you. And he happened to come out and he said, you're on the Arts Council? He said, I've been trying for 3 years to get a hold of the Arts Council. I said, honey, you've got a hold of me now. So
Right, I love what they're doing in
His card,
Ogden
I gave
City,
Bobby's
so-
card, and he's just a
Right.
great guy. And one of the gals that does all the paintings there in Ogden, all the horses and the pianos and all that,
right.
she would love to join with him and like that. And she is very professional and like that. So we've got some great people.
Yeah, that sounds
that's just
fantastic.
reaching out to us.
I just think the Opportunity Council, in terms of presenting these great ideas, Cummings simply says for a marginal amount of money, we can do some wonderful things in Roy. And Marge and Jean, right here in this forum, your policies basically says that once a year you're required to come in and join us. It doesn't have to be just
we'd
once
love
a
to do
year.
it more often than that.
Come
so.
often as you need to, but
We
come with
just-
some ideas. I think it'd be wonderful.
I feel bad that they invited everybody to leave because,
Sorry.
but you don't know how important
It is.
arts are to your brain.
Agreed. No.
Well,
So-
and as we heard, tattoo is a form of art, and
Right.
And
they
they
didn't get to
should've
hear our good
stayed.
art thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add a tattoo section to the
Yeah.
art show. No,
They
really.
have-
Face paint.
They'd have to come and stand and pose.
I don't have tattoos. My dad did. But I love tattoos. And I love to go up to veterans or single men and say, let me see your tat.
Thank you.
I'm an
Thank
old
you.
lady, but I still love
Thank
the
you.
art. And
You're
it's the
so
art that
funny.
I look at when I look at the tats. The guys aren't bad.
Okay, so Mayor, we will get with you and
Please.
set up our meetings. that-
And please set up a budget,
And
what you're
budget.
looking for going into next year, and let us get that going for you, okay?
Before, are you saying before the 16th?
Well, it's going to come out of the legislative, I'm sensing the legislative discretionary funds. So we have to approve that, but more importantly, we need to understand a little bit more how much you're going to need going into next year. So if you will simply take the time to put that out, it's already budgeted, it's already in the numbers, we just need to work how we can make that work for you. So just give us some numbers you're thinking of, okay?
All right.
And then I think if we can help in terms of providing assistance, if you need it, to write ramp grants, Travis, you've been doing them for years, okay? Your team has been very successful. I think we can find people, if necessary, in Roy City staff to help us to put a ramp grant package together when it's needed. So
And it's my understanding from what Jolene has said that anything's like what we're doing, ramp tax is very, very giving.
yeah,
So,
and it's wonderful. And y'all got some good money this time, particularly your concert in the park. I say we continue moving in that direction. So we're excited.
you'll have enough fans to do us through the next.
Perfect.
So-
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Travis do trunk or treat.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that. We do. We help with that.
Trunk or
So-
treat? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Council, I would just indicate to you, and I have to blame Travis every year because he helps me in doing this. I've got a car show right after the parade, and when they're going to give the art show awards. So I'll be down there. They have a mayor's vehicle car show thing award. So I've got to run immediately down there, and I'll miss, unfortunately, when you present the art show or there for the art show awards that will be taking place in the library. So not that I don't want to be there, but I tried it last year and 2 years ago, whenever it was, and I'll tell you, I couldn't make it. Trying to get past the art show and get that done and then run back up, everything was pretty well over. So it's not that I don't like it. I wish I could have been there.
Miss Roy will be there with her attendance.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
And I put it on my calendar, so I will be there.
Okay.
I have to make it up to you. I got, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great presentation. Discussion items, management services hours. Amber?
Okay, so for the past several years, the administration department has been doing a summer hours schedule that lasts from Memorial Day until the beginning of when school starts. Staff would like to continue this schedule year-round with a slight alteration. This is a similar schedule to like what the Public Works is currently doing now and would keep us more consistent throughout the year, as well as with other departments in the city. The current summer hours schedule is 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, and then 7:30 to 11:30 on Friday. We would like to change this to 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and then 8 to noon on Friday, and have this schedule stay the same year-round. There's a few reasons for this change. This summer, we tried to keep track of how many people were coming in between those extra hours, 7:30 to 8, and then 5 to 5:30. And during the 2 months that we've been on this schedule so far this year, the extra time we were open added up to 34 hours over that 2 months. And we had one person come into the office in person, and 13 phone calls was all. So typically the phone calls are something that's easier taken care of during the regular hours of 8 to 5. So I think we did benefit that one person that was able to come in, but still it was only one person in those 34 hours. It's starting to become increasingly difficult to fully staff the utility office. This new schedule would help us cover the office better and give the employees more flexibility with their schedules. We've been plagued with many illnesses and medical issues over the last few months, and we also need to allow staff time to take time off during the week, which we are not able to do because we have people off with medical illnesses and sicknesses. We have had a hard time covering the office with sufficient staff. We have 4 people that work in the utility office, and we should have at least 2 in there at all times if we can. We're busiest during the hours of 11 and 2, so currently the girls are working through their lunches to help cover the office, and by the time we get to Friday, I'm having to pay overtime to keep the office open. This new schedule would allow them more flexibility with their own schedule each week and still get in their 40 hours. We often talk about employee retention and are always looking for ways that we can keep our employees without just paying them more money. I feel like this would be one of those ways. This is something that staff wants to do, and they have requested to do this. I think when they see another job opening at another city that maybe pays $1 more an hour, this might be one of those things that keeps them here. The schedule will entice them to stay with Royce City and provide them more job satisfaction. We contacted 14 surrounding cities, and 7 of those currently do a similar schedule to what we are proposing here, and they do it year-round. We also ran a receipt report showing when customers are coming into the office before the summer hours began, and Friday afternoon is by far the slowest time that we are helping customers in that front office. So me and Matt have discussed this quite a bit over the last few months, and he is very supportive of this administrative decision, and we feel it is in the best interest of our employees and will impact the citizens very minimally. So this change would begin August 22nd and would include the utility office, the community development office, and the police records clerks. So we would appreciate your support in this. Thank you.
Okay, questions, council?
So for point of contact, the only point of contact people have directly is this city office with the utility people, right? That's kind of...
That's the main point of contact when they come in as our receptionist, and she directs them to the various departments that they would need to go.
Mm-hmm. And how does it work for lunches and stuff like right now? Do they need to take an hour lunch? You know, if it's 8 to 5 generally, do they take that hour lunch, or what's allowed there?
During the year, generally we're open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, so that allows for a 1-hour lunch in between there. During the summer schedule, we do the 7:30 to 5:30 and then close early on Friday, which still allows them a 1-hour lunch break in there. The problem is coming that we don't have enough staff to cover the office, and so they are working through their lunch, and they actually prefer to work through their lunch. They don't always want to take an hour lunch. So they work through their lunch, and then we get to Thursday afternoon, and they've already hit their 40 hours, and we're paying overtime or comp time to keep the office open on Friday. So they're the ones requesting, hey, we don't need to take an hour lunch. If they want to, there's still flexibility there. So they could come in earlier one day and then take a lunch that day, or they could stay later on a Friday. There's always work to be done if they need to make up their time outside of this time period that we're open to the public. We just feel this is when we're going to be open to the public to make that consistent year-round so it's not confusing. We think most of the citizens already think we close early on Friday anyway. That's why there's not very many people coming in Friday afternoons. Like I said, Public Works closes early on Friday. I think they just think all of the city closes early on Friday.
Well, it's my understanding you did a marvelous job during COVID, and we didn't have issues.
We didn't have this, the offices weren't even open, and people just adapted.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
So you guys don't have the police hour? I really did think that's...
So I talked to the
Fridays
police
early?
department, and they said they would also be on board with doing this schedule. So it would be all of this building that would be 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday and then close at noon on Friday. So like it wouldn't impact the police officers, but it would the records clerks in the police department.
And what about a court?
So the court is governed by the state. They have their own requirement of hours that they are required to be open, and so they would not be able to do this schedule. But what they've been doing is still closing early, but they're available on the phone. And so they have 4 people working in that office, but they just have one person that stays, and they rotate that one person that stays so that they can do the schedule, but then just one person, you know, every once a month, they stay and answer phones until 4 o'clock on Friday.
And what about the front office, Matt?
The front office with the administration. Yeah, I think likewise with Brittany as the main hourly employee, she's hitting her 40 hours by Thursday easily. Especially like weeks like this, she'll probably have it by tomorrow, so.
So basically, with the exception possibly of Matt, most of the staff will basically be off Friday afternoons.
Yes, so
And
it would be
what
the
you're proposing
yeah,
is
the
to-
utility office, the community development office, and then the couple of police records
Yeah, and just
clerk.
standardize it year-round. I
So
mean,
it's probably only about 10 employees that this affects, and then keeping it year-round instead
Yeah.
of changing summer and regular time.
When you did the data collection, did that include the police office?
We just ran a receipt, credit card receipt, so it was all credit cards that were taken in.
For the police side of things?
Yeah, so it was everybody that was taken in, anybody with a credit card
Yeah,
is what we ran.
So anybody that paid for records or utilities or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, council, other comments?
No, I think
This is a
fantastic.
discussion item. Matt, do we require this to be a resolution?
No, it wouldn't be required to be a resolution, just administrative decision, but we just wanted to be fully transparent and have the discussion openly.
So what do you need from the council?
General support, really. So.
Okay, let's do a head nod. Everybody comfortable with going ahead and moving with the proposal that Amber's provided? Okay, I
Thank
think
you
you
so
got
much.
an agreement to go ahead.
We appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you, Amber.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your Friday afternoons.
That's right. For the record, I typically, if I don't have any meetings afternoon on my calendar, I block it all out.
I know how to
So-
get a hold of Matt Friday afternoons anyway.
Yeah,
so-
likewise,
There you go.
likewise.
All we have to do, Matt, is change your phone number. And you can have some time off. Okay, next discussion item is going to be recreational complex bid and fundraising updates.
So we're going to kind of tag team this, Mayor. Couple of things. We talked a little bit about this in the work session last night, but I wanted to go for a little bit more of the fundraiser side of things. As you all know, we have reached a agreement with United Way. And with that being said, they have completed the landing page, the QR code, everything's ready to go for Roy Days. Brittany will have that up on the screen. Let's do the landing page. So we discussed this a couple council meetings ago about having QR codes to be able to donate. I think everything's pretty ready to shoot with this. And, you know, this is the excellent week to do it. But with this being said, I also wanted to have a little bit of a discussion on the what ifs. I know we don't like talking about that sometimes, but it has been brought up a couple of times of what if we do something else with this money, or if we don't get that much money, what do we do? I just wanted to throw that out there to the body because I think it's important to think about. When we're doing this type of fundraiser through United Way, it's going to be very tracked. But if we just take donations at Road Days in a bucket, we will have no idea who actually donated. So I think it's important to keep this a trackable donation. So if, in the worst case scenarios, if we get just a little bit of money and the city decides, as the council decides not to proceed with the improvements to the complex, we have the ability to return the funds. Also, we have had discussions today of the importance of the United Way. You'll get the tax return or the tax reports through them. The city is not set up to send out those tax reports. But the city, I think my biggest hiccup with donating to the city is we do not want to advise the citizens on their taxes. If they want to, they can talk to their own CPA and donate directly to the city as well. That's fine.
So there is a fee to collect the money. What if the bottom falls out of this and we have to return the money? Is that fee doubled?
Yeah, it would be, because it would be a credit
Which is
card
what,
trans- A 2%.
2% fee.
But you're not anticipating people donating to the city. The whole purpose of establishing the United Way was to allow them to be the conduit for the fundraising portion.
We would prefer that, but let's say a major donor comes in. When we did the Hope Center back in the day,
Mhm.
there was a donation of $1 million that came in, and they donated directly to the city. They were able to do that, but I'm not going to advise them on the tax benefits thereafter. So I
Okay.
would I'm kind of getting out. I'd much rather prefer that this is the reason why we set up the interlocal or the agreement, the MOU through the United Way.
Yeah.
And their
It'd be-
2% is only to admin costs and to track this. I mean, they're doing all this for us.
Correct.
So that's, yeah.
Yep.
When you look at normal fundraising type situations, it's 40%.
And even higher, I've seen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've paid 50 at some places. So
Yeah, they have been very generous to us,
Yeah,
but
2% is
that's
nothing.
kind of a sidebar conversation with the fundraising. I just wanted to let everybody know that it's up and running now, that we're good to go for Roy Days.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions relative to the fundraising? Anything else want to share?
Well, I just talked to some large donors, and they would want to pay through the city, had talked to their CPAs, because they don't want to give 2% of their money to the United Way.
Okay.
Which they said that their CPA said that's totally, that's what.
You
they'll
just
do.
have to be prepared to recognize that could happen, Matt.
Right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I would just, and that's fine with the
Okay.
larger donations.
Between you and Amber, just work it, and then we just need to kind of have a report on how this is progressing. I don't think this process is going to run a really long time.
No, we anticipated with that MOU November.
I think
at
it
the
was
latest.
only 4 months.
Yeah,
it
only
was
a
not
couple
long.
months.
So at Roy Days, that car show wants to have donations. So obviously, if somebody puts in $50 or $100, they're not getting a receipt. They're just being nice and donating. And
Yeah.
then,
I do have concerns of just having buckets around with money in
Right.
it too. but-
So if,
Yeah.
if a receipt is needed, sometimes you'll see little pieces of paper that are out there. I guess if people want to do it, they're just on their own, if they have a tax
And
audit. and
usually, I don't want to speak for them, but the de minimis little contributions don't really get looked at too, so.
so when I
Talking more of the bigger donations that people are writing off.
So when I talked to you earlier about that car show, though, you said that would be okay, so I told them they could do that, so.
Yeah,
And
if
then you would just
somebody's
have to
there
go gather
watching
the
and-
money.
yeah.
And
Could you not do something more like the QR code where they're taking it on their phone and they're doing it themselves and
are
it's not
anticipating
a bucket of
having that.
money? It's here's a giant poster and you're gonna go do it yourself.
Right, but there's a lot of elderly people that don't have a clue of how to do that.
Yeah.
And
They're
they'd
just
rather.
not going to get the receipts
Right,
and everything
and I
out of
think
us.
that they would have to be told that.
If you're gonna do
There's
there,
gonna-
I think we should also do it then at the booth,
Right.
in the vendors.
Have secured buckets.
We could look into that. There's
Some
still-
sort of big something that you can't walk away with.
I'd rather have the oversight of it.
You need to do that. We're talking about people's money, and they're going to recognize that to come to the hands of the public, and it's really important that we treat that as public revenue,
And I
however
think-
it may be.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of people at Roy Days seeing that poster and saying, I wanna donate to this right now.
Right.
And I think that's where you take advantage of the QR code, the cash box, whatever it be, but yeah, we gotta do it safe.
Amber, she just walked out, but would you, Matt, work that piece of it? Because I agree with Sophie. There will be at least wantingness to do something, even small donations. But again, it's critical that we just don't haphazardly, collect that if they want to donate it to the city. There needs to be some mechanism or people involved in that process. I hate to think we have to invest that, but in all fairness to the person who wants to donate, we owe it to them to make sure we secure that funding.
So we have a lot of staff there at those areas.
Yeah,
Does
we
that
do.
mean there's a table that they could kind of be based off of, or some
Well,
little
we
booth?
are
or-
having a table dedicated to the complex in association with Roy High that will be staffed.
And will that be in with Pusey, with
Hmm.
the, so Nevaeh and the
Okay.
student government?
And make it there.
Okay.
Guard that money.
Yeah.
will with my life.
And so, like, the big grand opening, is that? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because Travis is going to have people from the complex, because Nevaeh's not going to know how to answer questions about the fundraiser and,
Yep.
and, yeah.
Oh, along with that, I know we talked about it last night, but I think on record in council meeting, just an update of where we're at and how we're proceeding because of the additional expenses that's been uncovered and the higher bids than was anticipated.
And that is an excellent lead-in to the second half of this conversation.
All right.
Hey, Brandon.
Brandon's speaking to the other part of the opportunity.
You drew the short straw.
It's called power of delegation, right, Ross?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, like you guys, I watched your meeting last night, and like it was bringing to your attention is we did get some bids. The boiler room came in a lot higher than expected, and we do have some pictures here that I just wanted some more pictures of what we had of the boiler room here. So this is kind of just give you guys more of a heads up on what needs to be. This is our acid room. As you can tell, the conduit is completely rusted out. And then this is the boiler room floor that's got the rebar exposed. That's not the tunnel yet. Yeah, that's right above the boiler. That's the boiler that is broken that we need to replace. Then we're also the condensate tanks. So this is like all encompassed in what we need to remove out of this building before we can start to replumb it. So then are our condensate tanks. Those are actually the hot water heaters that we took out of Mawida. I believe they're going on 20 years old. So they're
And those hot water heaters are being used for
the domestic hot water, so like the showers and everything. And then that is the hot water tank, which is full of asbestos that we need to remove out of there too, to create space for this new boiler. And then, yeah, they're just lots of pics of kind of the condition down there. All the piping, we're gonna basically repipe it all because we're gonna convert it from a steam boiler to a water boiler. And we'll have two separate boilers. This is the fan coil. That's the one that is blown up. That's how you heat the building. And that's the one that we have the leak in it. So that also needs to be replaced. And then, yeah, just some more steam traps. And yeah, that's just kind of the condition that we're in. And that's, yeah, duct tape. That seems to be the fix. But
well, let me ask you, Brandon, in light of all these pictures you've shown us, let's go back to the juvenile center. One of the unique things that we were able to do once the city was elected to purchase that property is the demolition of that facility. You pretty well handled. You brought the heavy equipment in, you set it in your schedule, you worked it at your time when you're available, and you're able to clear that out pretty effectively. But I think a lot of that you did internally. Maybe the asbestos subtraction, the abatement process you may have hired out, I'm not sure. My question to you would be is, in light of the fact is you're looking at, you got to go through and have a clean sweep of this interior, how much of that work could be done by Public Works, and how much of that would have to be done by the selected contractor to come in and actually put in a new system? And with that comment, could there be some savings that we may be able to realize if, in fact, Public Works team was able to provide at least some of that removal effort?
It actually breaks it out on item number 2, provide demolition and asbestos abatement, $30,800. Because if they're calling demolition, I would imagine.
Yeah, I believe that's part of all the demolition is going to be around 30,000.
But that's hiring a contractor or hiring you?
Yeah, and I believe the asbestos removal is going to be upwards of 20,000. I mean, that's going to be the majority of the
lion's
cost.
share of the cost.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely avenues we can look at as far as having our guys go in there and kind of remove some of that area.
Like, how come, I mean, this asbestos, so it's obviously been there a long time, and it just never got removed before now?
Yeah.
How
So
come?
that's the old hot water tank. So
Oh.
those hot water tanks we pulled out of Mawida and put in there, that was to get rid of that hot water tank. And then we just haven't had the room because, and I think we did actually get a price to remove it previously, and we just decided against it because, well, somebody did. But yeah, we kind of have been Band-Aiding this along, I guess.
How are you getting that out of there? Because
Right.
Yeah.
That's the, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, they're
we're
gonna have
going to
to cut it
expose our staff to asbestos. Is that really what we want to do?
Well, no, let's make sure, first thing is you can't do that.
Right.
There's a
There's a
legal
law,
process that you have to use when you're doing abatement. And we certainly, there's an argument to suggest is if you do nothing and leave it alone, it's okay too. So, I'm not going to debate with you in terms of what we do or don't do, but whatever you do choose to do, whether you have a contractor do it or you do it yourself, there's some guidelines you have to follow in terms of the abatement process. So, you guys know that. You had to do it with the old jail. My only comment was finding some avenue. It would be somewhat easier if, in fact, to simply hire this entire thing over to a contractor and let them do it. You've done that before on some projects. They go in, they do the job, and then you monitor them. That's fine. But I've also seen where you've gone with some of your team and done some things to help reduce the overall cost, which means the labor, we're absorbing the labor as part of our normal cost of what we charge our residents.
Yeah.
And so whether they're doing this project or some other project, they're still working okay in a public works environment. I guess my comment would be would you at least be willing to assess from everything that's being proposed, that portion you think the Public Works team could do for the city so that we don't have to carry the $695,000 bill total, $700,000 bill, and then what is left, it really has to be done by a contractor because it's in the best interest to Roy City the contractor does that. I don't know where that balance is, but you do.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be the best to have a contractor come out and kind of give us a ballpark idea on what we would save by removing, like you said, obviously the asbestos is going to have to be removed by professionals, but
Right.
the piping and stuff,
Right.
yeah, that's definitely something that we could do. And I think, like you said, if it's going to save us, a fair amount of money, I think it's worth doing. But so I think it's probably best to have a contractor come out and say, hey, if you remove all of this piping, this is going to save you $15,000-$20,000. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's
We
something.
just gotta look at that option.
That would be good, because when you're talking about people donating $5 or $10, it
Yeah.
takes a long time, a lot of those to make up $10,000, and so that would
agree.
go a long ways. Thank you.
So what you're saying is, so we've got $500,000 in order to order anything to get this ball rolling. We need to come up with around $200,000.
Yes, because
More.
that's the engineer that came out and assessed it. He's not going to move any further until we sign a contract with him stating that we're going to pay him.
And I
then
think,
we
Ann,
can
the
put it out
challenge we
RFP.
have is the cost is not going to go down.
Right.
So the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost.
Yeah, we actually got a hold of our plaster guy, and the bids that he got in February, he says add another 100,000 to that.
There's my point.
So the inflation's out of control.
I
right
can't
now.
believe $100,000 more.
Yep.
So is there a
And you
way?
get it when you get it.
Yeah, no, he said that we'll be lucky to get it if we signed him on right now in January, because they're completely booked out summer through fall.
Like someone else needs to go into the plastering business.
or have state bid. That's another thing too, that our plaster company has state bid, so that's kind of a
Have you
plus
looked
on
into
doing
that?
that. What?
Have you looked into out-of-state bids?
No.
No.
And like you said, that's something that you guys can decide as well, as we can try to RFP that. But the beauty of having the plaster company come in is they are on state bid, so we don't have to go
compete.
through all the
Let's go through the
Right.
state
RFP
bid
Exactly.
process.
Negotiations.
So is there a way to do like a loan so we can get the $200,000 sooner? Do like a loan from the city, and then when we get the fundraising, replace it so we could speed things up?
Right, yeah, you brought that up last night, Bob.
Well, the loans are interesting. It's kind of like self-insurance. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you got $5.5 million. You can certainly allocate $200,000 out of the $5.5 million with the anticipation that when the fundraising generates its total amount, you can just put it back into that general fund. And so, to me, if Ross, you and Brandon come in and say, if we move out, here's the cost we go with right now, can you get me an extra $190,000 now? You could authorize that, That allows them to proceed to get it done, and then let the fundraising process go ahead and generate whatever fund it's going to generate, and then just simply re-put it back in the pot.
Yeah.
Because that way we're hopefully getting on it. Hopefully we're decreasing the further increase with inflation. And I think it's it's money-wise, very smart way to do it.
Well, if we have some big donors, I'd like to see what the big donors are gonna put out first, because that might be your $200,000 right there.
Right. Yeah, I talked to one of those big donors today, and I think that's a good possibility.
Maybe we could have like a time frame because, the sooner we get this in, some of these donors, they need to work through things with their accountants, their estates, and it might take longer. But if we could, get a feel for it, but at least get moving, then that allows them the time to do it.
Yeah, and may I suggest if you are going to up the money, I would maybe shoot for 300 more, just because this is an estimate. It could come in at more, it could come in at less. I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, this guy has lots of experience, so I think it's close, but we still don't know until we put that RFP out. Just with the way the economy is, that seems to be how contractors work. If they have lots of work, they'll throw high numbers. And if they don't have, so that we need to weigh that in too, because if there's lots of work, we see it with our street projects we have all the time. With the guys that have lots of work come in, $500,000 more than the guys that end up with the
Once they
contracts.
give you a bid, though, do you sign a contract so in case something comes up unexpectedly or they screw something up, we don't have to pay for that difference?
Yeah, so I mean, once you sign a contract, once you award the RFP in the contract, they're bound to the contract. So yeah.
So I have a question for the budget side of it. I mean, if we was to pull in a big donor and they come in with $250,000, could we start the process as soon as we've secured that money?
As soon as the city council elects to allocate that money, yes.
Can we pre-elect to allocate anything that comes in to the swimming pool? I know you're not going to like that, but one of the problems is we have to, every time enough money comes in, we have to have another meeting. We're running out of meetings.
You're right.
So I'd like to pre-allocate anything that comes in towards
Could
it.
we pre-allocate $300,000?
To think through it, when we estimate our budget, we are estimating the revenues that's coming in. We could estimate a budgeted figure of a donation coming in, but I feel it's risky, and that the offset is that if it doesn't come in, that it ultimately gets taken out of.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so we're still
I'm not
encumbered.
saying go ahead with it. I'm saying as soon as we hit the 300,000 or 200,000, we start the project.
Well, we would have, so.
Because
Good.
Well, go ahead, Amber.
You could add a budget amount in there as an expenditure with the understanding that we aren't going to spend that until we have received so much in donations. So it would be there.
Goes
in the
back like what you were
budget.
trying to
We
do.
don't necessarily we don't spend everything that's in the budget
No.
automatically.
No. And there's enough in the rainy day fund that we could turn around and we could encumber the funds so we can move the ball forward and then go through and whatever we generate via the fundraiser, we can use the fundraising money to replenish back into the rainy day fund.
I'm not comfortable allocating anymore until we
Agreed.
have it, but I would like to pre-allocate anything that comes in towards getting the ball rolling.
But the risk we run into, is every month we wait, the inflationary factors could impact that decision.
It out
And
further
so
and
the
further.
challenge would be is we're waiting. Maybe that doesn't come in for another month, doesn't come in for another 2 months. Maybe it comes in at the end of this in November.
And what if it doesn't come in?
Hence the reason the
Right.
question would be is, do we do this or don't do this? If the question at the end of the day, 3 of you believe we shouldn't do this, then tell us now. But at the end
It's
of the
not
day.
that I
3
don't think we should do it, but it was contingent on getting donations. If we don't get donations, the whole thing's back in the air.
Well,
What if we waited for the month? We start kickoff next, in 2 days, right?
Yeah.
We see who's donating, who's coming in, what's coming in. If we get a whole bunch of, I'll say $5 at the park, that's not going to cut it. And I think your big donors are going to take at least a month. I don't think they're going to take 4. I think we just said it. We opened it for 4 months. Just so we could keep going on it and keep earning money on it, keep fundraising. But I think the majority of your money is going to come in the first month or 2. And right there, I mean, within 2 months, I think you're going to know.
Well, a good point. Let me offer this thought. September 1st, specifically September 6th, we'll have another city council meeting. The 16th is already dedicated to truth and taxation.
You mean August or September?
September. If September 6th, should not we want the city to come in and simply says, we're ready to go on RFP, we should have a pretty good idea what kind of revenue is being generated. That gives them roughly 30 days to see who's basic contributing. But we walk in there with a plan that simply says we're going to allocate the money to allow then the public works to move out. We're just getting it move out. We still haven't even issued a contract. There's probably still some work that has to be done before a contract's ready, but at least they can move on it. Otherwise, if we waited till October, November, we may be too late to need. Meaning is that the inflationary factor could have already impacted it, and now we're gambling with trying to find more money to be able to cover the cost. Let's do the September 6th. If they come in with September 6th with the information to include, Amber, Matt, a proposal, okay, to do a budget adjustment, because that has to be approved for what we're talking about doing, however the money is going to be brought in, then you'll have hopefully as much information as you will need to be able to go ahead and say yay or nay. If you don't believe there's enough information, then don't approve it. But if there is enough information, then we don't have to wait for another 2 weeks for another city council meeting for us to get a budget adjustment prepared and bring that to the council. They can have it all done within 30 days.
So if you wait until September, just remember, it's gonna take the guy months.
I know.
To go to RFP.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't have the
How-
money.
Yeah,
How,
That's okay.
right,
Yep.
right.
Unless we
I
get a
know.
huge donor, like soon.
Well, but
Yeah,
what he says,
right.
what he's saying is that even if you basically, if you approved it today, if you basically says, take money out of the rainy day fund, using Randy's term, okay, and applied 300,000 more to the 500,000 you already authorized, it will still take them 30 days, okay, for them to get this thing started. I'm just going to suggest to you is, let's come with a budget adjustment, proposed budget adjustment. If they can come in on the 6th of September with a proposed budget adjustment that gets them to the other 300,000, and then have at least some documentation, some evidence where the money is coming in, you have a pretty good idea. Would you be willing then to consider approving a budget adjustment because the indicators suggest that the money to be able to carry the rest of the
Yeah,
cost will be
because
there?
if the money's not there, we wouldn't do the budget adjustment.
And that's the decision.
Correct.
I'm good with that.
Well, so can you start tearing apart anything before September 6th, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the very first thing you need to do is get the asbestos.
Yeah,
removed.
the asbestos, definitely, we want to get that out of there before I want my guys in there.
All right. And quick question for you, Trevor. We still maintaining the water as far as chlorination levels? We don't have any of those types of concerns that we're going to have to?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all chlorinated.
It's all part of the program.
But, yeah, and
I was
al-
gonna say,
also,
that only addresses
also
thi-
like, this is
this.
just the thing, like, we've wanted,
Show the
we
rest
want to
of the pictures.
replaster. We want the deck replaced. I don't know, the tunnel, I guess you guys seen the pictures last night.
Yeah.
You can pull those up. We have a few more of that.
$150,000 for the tunnel.
So,
200,000.
Yeah. We're at 1.2 between all.
Has this tunnel not been looked at every year, or did this just happen this past year?
yeah, I don't know how long it's,
So it never gets inspected. Nobody had gone down there and
yeah, so, and that's somebody bring that up last night. What do we have a tunnel around there? So that's how the pool is heated. That's a big air duct, and it runs up these pillars. I think we left that picture in right there. So those all have holes in them, and that's how the pool is heated. It runs through that tunnel and up them, and comes out of that, and that's how it heats the pool area. So, yeah, I mean, unless we really have a problem with like a leaky pool or something, or with water in there, they're not really inspected, I
there's
wouldn't
never
say.
like
but,
a yearly inspection
but
of the whole.
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of deteriorated after time. Even an inspection, I mean, it's to the point where it is now. It's not like we could do anything. The water's soaked completely in, and if you want to flip through here, there's actually several spots in this deck that the rebar has popped the deck, and we've patched it. But so, I mean, there's issues.
What kind of liability situation do we have if somebody cuts themselves on rebar?
Yeah, no, and that's definitely a concern. I think we have had a couple people cut their feet on just even the sharp edges, because where the rebar pops it up, it creates a sharp edge. That's the filter tank also. That's part of the reason we do need to replace the deck is that is the old DE filter, which we eliminated. We went to a sand filter system. And so that's just a basic hole that we need to fill up.
Oh, is the
and
same people
get
that
rid of it.
do the liner, do the deck too? The plastering?
No, so the plastering's a different company. In fact, the bid we got for the cement for the deck is our contractor, Stark Brothers. That's who we
Oh.
use for all the cement throughout the
Right,
city.
yeah.
So
And so they do the deck and the tunnel.
they'll just do the deck. So they'll have to remove all the cement, and then I think it's called B decking. It's a metal that supports the cement
A
above.
suspended deck.
Yeah, suspended deck above the tunnel, and that's what they pour the cement on. So they'll pull out all the cement and they'll replace that's above the tunnel with that new decking, and then they'll lay the new cement down on that. And also the 152 was also included the patio that's off to the south side. That's in disarray as well.
So I have a question for you that my grandkids wanted me to make sure and ask you.
Uh-huh.
So how much would it cost to have a slide put in? They're like, we'd go more if it was funner. And I don't
I'd go
even know
more
if
if
there's
you had.
room.
I'd go more if you had a hot tub.
Yeah, I mean anything pool related is extremely expensive.
So
I
a
mean,
slide.
Look at it from this perspective. For us to pull out the two diving boards, what was it? They actually called it out. It was like
They're 60,000.
60K was what we need to budget if we had to remove and replace both of the diving boards. So,
So
to put
take
in,
the diving boards out, and then we need to put brand new ones indoor.
I agree. A lazy river as well.
Right. So it's
Just buy the golf
$60,000 to
course and
take
build a whole
out
new
2
facility.
diving boards
Yeah.
and put 2 in.
yeah.
Yeah, that's there's a bid in there for 60,000 to replace because the diving boards are also
Fine.
rusted.
Okay.
And you know that's kind of our stance is we've kind of band-aided it along this whole time, and this is kind of the boat we're in now. So I mean, even if we spent $700,000 on the boiler, we're still gonna have patrons show up and say, because my guys get flack daily up there on the condition of the building.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, it's gonna be
Well,
even
it-
worse when we dump $1 million in and they come in and say, "What did you do?"
But
So
one last thing, comment on this, Council, and we talked briefly about the other night. You have to come away with an idea that says this is a complex and important service that we provide to our residents. And it appears a lot more than just our residents.
Right.
And if it is, then I think we need to have a serious conversation about a replacement. Now, whether that replacement comes in 5, 10 years, even 15 or 20 is not relevant at this moment, but it surely suggests is, as a city council, you can put that ball in motion to allow us then to consider moving ahead with some type of long-term replacement and, more importantly, long-term relocation of that complex. We need to think about this. In all fairness, Brandon, you guys do a great job keeping it going. Travis, your team has done a wonderful job just managing in an oftentimes difficult situation. But at the end of the day, it's 50 years old, and we got to be talking about where do we want to put a new one, or do we want to put a new one out there? And if we do, and I said from the get-go, let's put it on the ballot. Let the people decide. But if we're going to do that, we can certainly get that process started and start looking at a long-term solution, even if it involves other communities, a long-term solution that helps us bring this kind of capacity and capability for the next 50 years. I do not believe you can make some investments, you can surely do what you're doing, help fix it, and you can give it 10 to 15 years more life. But at the end of the day, maybe all you're going to get is 15 more years, and then we have to be thinking about a new place.
yeah, and
Well-
I don't want to really be the bearer of bad news either, but I can't guarantee 10 to 15 because back in the 70s they used cast plumbing, and I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with cast, but we've pulled some chunks of pipe out of there that are 4-6 inch, and they're reduced down to 1 inch.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what's all under the women's locker room floor, and we've cut it out once, and we're just kind of it's a gamble. I mean, it's a 50-year-old building, and we maintain this in the fire station. The fire station one, he can attest, we have major problems over there too as well. So they're coming up on 40 years as well. So.
See, these are important, and not to surely throw rocks at some councils in the past, but in all fairness, you have an opportunity as a council to basically clear the deck and basically plan a long future to include the infrastructural changes that are out there that need to be done as well.
Yeah.
So if we get that $200,000 donation or $300,000 donation this week, that means we can call a special session and get the budget going, right?
In the reality, that would be the mayor or the two city council members can in fact call a special meeting. My recommendation, if you do get any indication that there might very well be some donations that get us there, and we can reconvene a special meeting before the 6th of September, because you got some evidence, I think that will satisfy the interest of some of the council members if that money is in place.
Yeah, there's a notification requirement for a budget hearing.
Right.
For the public hearing. If we do get the money this week, we can always put it in on the 16th as well.
And in fact, you can put it, because it is a budget meeting, because at the end of the day, we're
We
going
could
to
do
vote
the
for a
budget
budget.
meeting at 5:30, close it by 6.
You could just put it into the annual budget.
Oh.
Just put it in the budget, you'll be approving on the 16th.
That's true.
Any other questions for Brandon?
Nope, I just know my house is over 50 years old, and I think it's still pretty good, so I'm
I do too. I agree.
Your house has probably seen a lot less use. A lot less toilet flushes.
Brandon, good rundown.
That's true, but we
Thank
need
you.
to get a cemetery too, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Time for
thank
my
you,
favorite
Brandon.
motion.
Day of service, Travis?
Mayor, council, we've talked about a lot of things that kind of involve my world, and I'd like to thank the Arts Council for all they do. And if it ends up going under the legislative thing, we have no problem with that. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't give a shout out to Lizzie Badger. She's the one who's ordered their shirt. She's the one who wrote their ramp grant. She's got them A-frame signs that we hang up before the concert, and I think she deserves some recognition for what she's done there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for bringing that attention.
No problem. We wanted to discuss the day of service. We've been doing the day of service for longer than it's been the National Day of Service. The National Day of Service began after 9/11. It began in 2002. Then by President Bush, called it a day of remembrance. President Obama then changed it to Day of Service and Remembrance. Last year, we partnered up with the Just Serve organization. They asked us in the memorial for the 20th year of 9/11 to partner up with them, where they put down 5K runs. They did a food drive, I believe, and then we all got together in kind of a multi-city effort between Roy and Clinton and cleaned up the DNRG trail. We've had some conversations with them again. It's something that they want to continue doing. They are also going through food drives right now. They've asked to use our recreation complex on September 8th to bring in food, bring in about 100 volunteers for the Catholic Community Service Bridging the Gap pantry packs. And what those are is they would create meals for kids to have over the weekend. And they wanted to partner up with doing that. There is some, and I think rightfully so, there is some trepidation to saying, will it work in a community of our size to have their event that would take place on September 10th and our event that I believe it's August 27th? You know, we have not necessarily done a massive amount of scheduling for ours. We've discussed some areas that could be done if we were to do something without them. I guess that's what this conversation is as much as anything about, is do we continue to partner up with Just Serve, or do we break off and do something on our own at the end of August? If we did end up doing something with, I know there's always the issue of the aquatic center and where people discuss that. I've talked with Matt about this. I've talked with aquatic staff, and if we wanted to partner up with Just Serve on the 10th, it's something that on, say, September 3rd, we could make the aquatic center available for all Roy residents. You know,
But still officially be open because it's around
it's
Labor
still
Day.
open. The part of the reason we originally used to run it that same week of September 11th. And frankly speaking, the cost became too high to keep the pool open for those additional days, to filter it and chemical it and heat it and everything for those days. So 5-6 years ago, Ross, we ended up moving it to the end of August. And there's that week in between that's Labor Day, and no organization wanted to do it during Labor Day. We thought too many people were traveling at that point in time. So we had moved ours to the end of August. Just Serve, and it sounds like something they want to continue doing, not they did it last year, they want to do something this year, and they want to keep doing it moving forward. At least the representatives I've spoken with would like to continue to see it happening. I just, and I feel, I think Matt feels this way in talking to members of Just Serve, we question if it's going to work if we do 2 of them in a 3-week window. You know, I think it's going to weaken ours and it's going to weaken theirs, and we're going to have, for lack of a better term, two lackluster project days instead of maybe one really good one. And what is it again they want to do? They're doing 2 things that they've done so far. One, they're collecting massive amount of foods for food pantries, for just food pantries, period, where they're giving people, hey, you go walk these. You walk these blocks, put these flyers up, let them know that we're going to show up in a certain amount of days, and then we'll come back and pick it up. And the other one was the one I was telling you about, where they've asked to use the complex to build these packs, was the Catholic Community Services Bridging the Gap pantry packs.
Well, they're doing the 5K run again too, because they contacted me about doing their shirts again.
That is
So
correct.
They're doing that again.
They are doing the 5K run, where last year I believe they gave the money to first responders. Yep. Who would have thought first responders did well on it? That was supposed to be a joke. I'd like to have got something out of that. It's a bad joke. Sorry,
So
I
is
apologize. It's been a late night. But yes, when they did the 5K run last year, they gave the money to the first responders. You're correct. They are doing that again this year. Well, don't take this personal, but I was thinking our day of service could be pulling weeds and cleaning up around the city building. Well, we do have certain projects that obviously we can do. Or even our parks. Parks get a little harder because of the amount of use that's happening in some of them at that time. We've talked about doing some stuff in detention basins on 2700. And that's what I'd say. I'd leave it up to you guys. If you want us to do our own thing and not partner up with them, that's what we can do. If you want us to partner up with them and ask for volunteers, that is what we can do, and maybe make the pool available the weekend prior. That's as much as anything what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
Is
but
this
you would
usually-
agree with me, one of the challenges you have is, and I've been involved with those youth programs where we had to clean up and then incentivize them after the cleanup to go to the pool for a couple hours and eat hot dogs. It brought a lot of people out. 6 LDS stakes did that. And we had lots of youth engagement. My fear is going to be is you stick that pool out there a week before the event, are you assuming that every one of those people you put in the pool is going to show up a week later because they're going to work for it?
We've never done it before, so anything
Exactly.
I'd say would be speculation on that.
What was their reward was the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Now,
the
isn't this the
incentive.
thing that Pusey does with the schools? And last time we did like the big
The RNG.
parkway, the walkway trails. Is that same event?
Yeah, quite often. I'll be honest with you. Quite often, and if we end up doing our own day again, we're going to have some projects to bring people to. Whether it be this building, whether it be 2700, whether it be detention basins, but there's still going to have to be groups that then end up on the DNRG trail. It's just.
But it's just not the groups. Ross, Brandon, you guys put people in those groups. So every time we're doing a cleanup, it's not just the fact we get volunteers, but we're putting employees out there with trucks and resources to be able to meet their requirements. If you do both of them, then you're basically committing 2 days of the employee resources that have to be able to dedicate to that as well.
And me personally, I don't think that that's fair to ask them to work coming off of Roy days and work 3 overtimes in a 4-week period.
I just think we should go with them again. And Pat Medell, who does youth serve,
Yeah.
told me that she has people just waiting to do projects. So she was gonna do the bark out here, right, Matt? With the bark and put that outside the building. And she says, just give me some stuff to do. I have groups of kids that are just waiting to pull weeds or just, so I think that we can already get volunteers to do some of this stuff.
So does the volunteer go along with what they're doing with YouServe with just food and collecting? I don't want to see just food and bags being delivered on doors.
Well, and that's the thing, is that would be the one that's in September, and what we're talking about is our very own separate outside of that, correct?
They're saying separate, don't do that.
Well-
I'm saying it is up to you what you want to do.
Or do
if
both.
you want to, I would not recommend doing both. I like I said earlier, I think doing two separate projects could be troublesome. But if that's what you want, we can make it happen. We can start hitting up to see who wants to volunteer to work overtime for those. But I would be concerned about trying to get involved with both activities.
Well, the food drive, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing they're asking for us is the use of the
Correct.
complex. That's
Correct.
it. So we wouldn't be needing Public Works for that because they, as you said, have 100 people dedicated that are going to be scouring the community to pull back all of the people that are taking and just putting donations on their porch.
Yep.
And so I don't see that as being overbearing for
No,
resources from us.
I would agree with you. I don't think that is either.
Yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm saying.
why
We
I'd
could
say
do
yes.
both because
If-
they're already committing 100 volunteers. We're not having to bring anything else to that except for the support.
If the second one, the September 10th one, did not involve massive city manpower, then sure, we could do both. I mean, absolutely we could.
And that's the thing is, am I misunderstanding? Because it doesn't, because they're bringing their own volunteers, they're
Nope.
doing their own campaigning.
From what we know of their September 10th date, it would involve very little from our end as far as manpower goes.
So
Well,
would
let's
they
make
do
sure we
the
understand what you're
DRG
saying.
Trail? Would that be part of them?
You're talking, there are fundamentally three things. They're going to handle the issue in terms of collecting the food.
Correct.
They're going to handle the issue in terms of the 5K.
Correct.
Chief may have some officers down there to help facilitate some safety with vehicles, but for the most part, those are independent of everything we're talking about. The issue on the table is this. There could be an event, a youth-driven event, which the city sponsors and has done, Marge, for years and years and years, okay? Since
was-
'99, in which case the individuals would come, the city would put them to project works, provide the resources, and at the end of 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, invite them come to the aquatic center
yeah.
and swim off their reward. That has been a tradition in Roy City for years and years and years. That's the end of August. The 10th of September, there's something else.
Correct.
And the Just Serve organization is wanting to do something else. We're not definitized what that is yet, but it's something else. And so the question, council, would be is, do you want to do both?
So I have another question. Does that mean the Just Serve organization is going to be collecting the food ahead of time? But were they also wanting to do other service like the cleanup on the 10th, or are they focusing only to
On the food drive, right?
food?
Is it just a
Cleanup
food drive?
last year.
From what I know right now, and I looked at their Just Serve app, right now it is the 5K and food.
That's it.
Those are the two items that they have.
And they're going to have to permit for the 5K. So we right, correct? Right? Don't they have to? Pretty much. Yeah, we have to approve that as a city. So
Well,
we would
they-
encumber people for it.
Isn't they're the ones that start that, wasn't
Yeah.
it like in Clinton or somewhere where that started, the 5K last time? And
It technically starts at Emma Russell
Emma,
Park.
yeah.
And then
It's-
goes to, like,
and
went to-
it runs to Clinton, and then I believe it came back.
Yeah, I can't
It started and ended in Emma Russell Park.
Right.
Right.
But recognize, council, is that those are well in motion, basically all approved. All they're basically do is going to just execute what they've got planned. What we don't know at this moment is, do they have a third option
Where
to
they're
do
gonna
some
more.
type of cleanup in the cities? Don't know. Just Serve has talked about it. They certainly did it last year, and the issue is going to be, or do we simply say, appreciate, go do whatever you want to do, but we're going to have our annual youth event, in which case we will tie a cleanup of some sort and tie it to the aquatic center, so that as soon as they're done with that event, we close the aquatic center. I think that's the discussion.
Yeah.
Or do we simply say, whatever Just Serves decides they're going to do on the 10th, that's where we're going to focus our attention, and we're not, again, going to do a youth event?
I say we still do the youth event, but then we suss out what they're trying to do on the 10th, and if it's within the scope of just doing the food drive and a 5K, we do both. Because that's them taking, in my opinion, running their own, because they're not asking outside of the use of the complex. They're not asking for any of our resources, nor, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Gwynn, we're not going to be having any additional police on staff to man the 5K?
Not right now, it's such a short portion.
Yeah, right. Because again, especially if they're going into Clinton, that's a whole, block and a half?
Typically, if we have someone who's not in service, we'll try and make them available, but whoever's putting on the event is told if that officer's not available, then they're on their own.
Right.
Yep.
So what,
So-
Travis, what would you have the youth do? Just the just the trail? or-
We're obviously going to have to put a lot of people on the DNRG trail, but we do have some satellite ones, like I talked about, potentially this building, 2,700, the 4,000 detention basin, or 4,000 area, 4,400 potentially. There are other places we can put them for smaller groups.
If the council and the staff basically believe we should go ahead and reconvene the youth event, and then the key would be is he needs that now to say, go forth, because he's got a lot of work to do with Ross to get all the manpower, get the person signed up to be able to carry off that event.
Right.
If the decision from the council is, no, we're not going to do that, we're relying upon the Just Serve to come back and tell us what they may or may not do, then he needs that decision so he doesn't put the resources. But this is coming on just like a freight train, and we've got to give him guidance in terms of what you want to do.
Well, so how's the word gotten out before? Wasn't it through the church?
Oh, it's everything.
It's-
Scouts,
Scouts,
church.
or, yeah.
I just don't
Community
remember
groups.
how it was
But,
advertised.
and we invite everybody, but in full disclosure, yeah, one of the key areas we go to is we go to stake presidents.
Right.
You've got
But we
youth
hit up
groups.
as many churches, non-LDS churches,
Right.
any
Yeah, right.
denomination church in
Scout
the area.
troops.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we invite.
Girl Scouts.
If you want to come help, we want you involved.
Yeah.
So that would be on the August 27th. That's a Saturday, I assume.
Yes.
And then they would go do that early in the morning,
I've done it both years.
and then
Yeah.
and then go to the complex and swim.
The aquatic center.
Aquatic
I mean, the
center.
aquatic center. That's what I meant,
And
not the complex.
yes, and it would probably be one that we'd meet down there at 9-ish. They would go work for 2.5, 3 hours, and then meet down at the pool at noon.
I think if we didn't take advantage of all these hands, I think we're almost
Yeah.
stupid not to take advantage of this
Yeah, and
many
then if that's
volunteers.
their option, yeah, if they
Yeah,
want to
let's-
go and join that race or go do the other stuff
Yeah,
with
do
the
the
other
food drive,
city.
do it, because
What's the
again,
target population? Are we targeting the exact same population? Because if we're targeting the same demographics, then you're probably not going to have as many people at both. But if it's targeting a different demographic and two different things,
Yeah.
or could we take the 27th and just take those projects, combine it with the 11th, so it's like our project just on the same day, coordinated, collaborated, but yeah, I'm not clear
that
with
takes
that.
the pool out of it.
And frankly speaking, I can't tell you the demographics they go after.
Right.
We typically get a lot of 10 and older.
Youth.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well,
10 and older.
The
And-
food
and-
drives are not the kids.
No,
it's
no.
me. It's
Yeah,
the older crowd.
Because
It's
you have to
the-
have a vehicle to go collect,
it's
and
not
like
the
yeah,
kids.
you have youth that are running up to the porches and taking the food bags off.
But that's all 2 weeks later.
right.
Yeah.
What he's talking about would be is on the 27th of August, we
Well,
want to have
again,
a youth event.
yeah, we do ours.
If
and
we
then-
do ours, then he just needs clear direction with Ross to go ahead and proceed.
And
We'll
then-
still have
Proceed.
Right.
the 7th.
I mean, why, I don't.
The city's committing to the Wounded Warrior Project, which includes them biking and running through our city, Ogden, Weber County.
What?
And we're doing that on the
27th.
Mm.
But there's nothing wrong with the youth of the community coming out and basically doing projects. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because it'd just be youth versus that.
Mhm.
Oh, I say
personally
the
sense
27th.
if we just recognize these are two separate events.
Two separate events by two different entities. We do
Different
ours
entities.
on the 27th. They
Right.
do theirs on the 10th. Let them coordinate what they need to coordinate. Again, if it's
Yeah.
it sounds primarily like it's a food drive, which, given the current state of affairs,
And a
that's not a
5K.
bad thing.
But
And a
here's an
5K.
important thing. It's not just the city that's organizing this on the 27th. We are looking at a lot of volunteers. Are these the same volunteers that are going to be coordinating on the 27th and on the
No, I don't-
10th? Because
I don't
if
think
that,
so.
if we've got
No.
the same groups that are helping,
No.
then you're really
It's-
going to diminish.
It's the Catholic Community Services, right? Isn't that
The
CCS?
one on the 10th is ran through Just Serve. The best way to look at it is that is Just Serve.
Right, and like I said, they're already on the hook, and you said they have 100 volunteers that they've already got.
I can't tell you they have 100 they're looking for 100 volunteers.
okay.
I don't know how
What
many
they
they
have.
have.
Okay.
Do we have those people that are coordinating it, which are the different church entities and organizations and leadership there of the many different churches? Are they still willing? Are they still, because for us to do that ourselves would be too difficult, are they still willing to help us on the 27th? Do we know that?
That's why we wanted to have this talk tonight, so we could reach out to them. You know, but they've never told us no before. They've always appreciated the opportunity to work and serve.
I agree. You have to get letters out this week if you're going to do it. And
I
they'll
say we
announce
go.
it.
I say we go with tradition and do our own, and then let's address the one on the 10th on the meeting on the 6th.
Are you okay with that, council?
Yep.
Are we okay with that?
Totally fine.
I think we need a little more information first to make sure
On
we've
the
got somebody
10th.
helping us.
Okay.
Because it can't just be
yeah.
our staff doing it.
No,
We
no.
have to have-
I'll reach out to church leaders this week and try to get some sort of commitment from them of that we're going to get a good
Do you have
turnout of
Kelly
people.
Taylor's number? Because I could call him. He's our state president.
I'll get with you.
The only thing, Diane, is the concern would be is we will not reconvene until the 16th. And that has to be focused to truth and taxation, no other topic.
Yeah.
And so the question I need to ask, Matt, if he gets more information, say next week, to get the quorum to make a decision about whether we proceed, what do we need?
We would have to call a special session on it.
Can we not decide tonight if there's 3 of us that want to do
Yeah,
the
well,
27th?
well, the
do it,
27th is a
we can
given.
go
That's
for
just
it.
that's tradition.
It just delays
yeah.
him moving out. because-
And I'll do this. If there's any issue, if there's
direction.
if there's
Can
any
we agree
issue
by
on the
email? Does it
27th,
require a public vote?
Vote?
It requires a public decision here so that the staff can move forward. That's what we do. So
You
if
do
I
a
get,
caveat?
if I get 3 head nods that simply
Yes.
says,
Do the 27th.
Travis, move forward on the 27th with a youth program,
If,
that's all I need.
I'm going to lose consciousness.
can't we say we can move forward if we've got the support? That's my concern.
Yeah.
Is for us to move forward without having that kind of support. That's too much for our staff.
and much like I told the mayor earlier when I said I wouldn't know how the turnout would be if we let them swim on the 3rd and ask them to come back on the 10th. Yeah, I have my suspicions as well. But I would say this: we've never had a year where there's been potential 2 projects either. I want that known as well, because like to Diane's point, we could go from typically 700 people that we might get show up to 200. Doesn't mean we can't get a good amount of work out of that 200 people, because I think we can, and I think they'll give us a tremendous effort. But I think we are flying a little bit blind with we are in uncharted territory to
But
some
we'll
degree.
get more people if we have aquatic center after.
Exactly.
than
As I
they
say,
will.
let's proceed
27th.
forward with our event on the 27th.
The 27th can have the pool?
Yep. The 27th can have the pool. Push forward with that.
We have allocated the 27th for this day from the get-go.
Okay.
Okay.
Then let's go with that, and then I guess to Diane's point, if your assessment basically determines we're gonna have a resource problem, then obviously, we just need to regroup. But a consensus of the council majority would be is proceed with the 27 with the youth activity.
Right. I mean, we'll also have the city council meeting on the 6th of September as well, which I mean, it's a short window, but we would know by that time on the 2nd.
Well, our event would already be over.
Exactly. And I'm just saying, depending on,
We will have some insight in terms of what's gonna happen on the 10th.
Correct.
But the 27 has been passed.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yep.
you.
But yeah,
Thank
our
you,
focus
Travis.
is, so there you go.
Okay, we're almost there. Bear with us. City manager and council report.
Yes,
Speed
I
round.
actually only have one thing with Roy Days. So welcome to Roy Days Week. If you want to continue to, we did something yesterday together, tonight, tomorrow we have the employee softball game, Thursday the salmon bake. So just continue on coming and planning on coming every night. So we'll see you there.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you. Anything else, Matt?
Nope.
Council, anything you have before I jump in?
I'm sorry. I know we've gone so long.
Please.
So I was talking to some people today, and we were thinking maybe now that I'm like listened to the council meeting, though we have so much going on, this summer that I don't know if right now would be the best time, but I was thinking just some type of like Roy City youth get together, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know for sure.
Have one of those. You're
Roy
bringing
days?
the rake and shovel.
The 27th.
The
So-
27th, and we'll give them the aquatic center.
So that's true. No,
We can
yeah.
do a group activity and say, our group from Roy High is going to meet here at the city offices and we're gonna do this.
It would be
Yeah.
so perfect.
Okay, that's a
Talking
good
about a
idea.
service and some type of maybe a luncheon or something, what would you like to do?
Yeah.
I think if you do that, you've gotta offer it to everybody,
Not just.
I didn't know if you want to group it with the 27th, because some of the same people will be involved in both.
Yeah. Maybe instead, so for the 27th, I can just advertise it as not just serve, but just like
Everybody.
all of Roy Youth.
Yeah, it's a Roy community. Yeah.
Day of service. Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. And I did like start an Instagram account, but I don't have anything on it or anything like that. I just have the account. And so I just wanted to, and I did that just like literally today.
Perfect.
And I have the password and everything that I can share with you. So
Okay.
So on
Anything
the
else?
27th, are they going to feed them?
No.
Okay, so then they
Really?
better pack
In
a
the
lunch.
past,
Isn't
well,
it
in the
breakfast?
past,
They
they've
did
always
donuts?
fed them.
First thing, let's
know.
make sure we understand what,
I will say this.
Travis, tell us what you normally do.
They'll be hungry.
Historically, all we've done is provide a grill. The organizations have assigned hot dogs, buns, chips, different things. There's always been food provided.
Right.
Okay, so
But
two things.
we have not done anything other than provide the actual grill.
No,
And
okay, but
also
let's make sure we
donuts in the
understand what
morning.
you've done. In
Yes.
the morning, before we go out to work, what did you do?
Fair enough, thank you. We do provide donuts, juice, chocolate milk, regular milk before people go out.
Had me at donuts.
Exactly.
When they come back and go to the aquatic center, there has been a group of people who have cooked them hot dogs and had chips and drinks for them at that point in time.
Right.
Yeah, and that's that connection that's really important because
agree.
that's part of the whole event is that lunch. And so if we don't have that, I just don't see that we can pull it off.
Okay, I'll keep you guys posted. Like I say, I'll reach out to a bunch of people this week and see where we're at on that.
And it might very well be you may need some city council members cooking hot dogs. I mean, put it on the table.
And I'll keep you posted. I'll make sure you guys are in on the loop.
Thank you.
Okay,
right,
day of
Wonderful
service. I'm
that
going to
day,
start like
sorry.
advertising it. So day of service, August 27th,
Please.
Roy Youth Community. Is there
And
any,
aquatic center at the end.
okay, is there any age any age limit or like
Not
just-
typically. I
No,
mean,
as
obviously,
long as they
we
If
don't
they
want
can hold a shovel
They can hold a shovel.
Okay,
or pull weeds,
cool.
rake.
Is that okay?
Yep, perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? I got a couple of things before Joe basically closes the meeting.
You're the
Anyone-
thing. You're the thing standing between my favorite motion and us going out of here.
If anyone listens to the end of this meeting, people have talked about the taxes and they're so upset about Weber County as well as Roy. I'm saying August 3rd, Wednesday, tomorrow, go to Weber because that's where they can do it. The other thing is, I think Joe had a really good idea in regards to having comments before, and I don't know when or how. You know, right now it was maybe a little more difficult time to do it, but you know, something to mull over and see if there are certain events we think might have more public comment to do it right before. But anyway, I just think at some point in time we could just have that resurface.
Well, yeah, because my thought is you have a bunch of paid employees here to pay respect to an honor that one of our firemen got. They had to wait through that. There were other people that were waiting for different things, and so I think if you're here to support one portion of it, that we reserve public comments to that portion that's being voted on. You
know
can
it's
have
hard-
open public comments, but then just have the mayor say, if your comments are pertaining to this ordinance, we ask that you reserve your comments until the beginning of the discussion on this ordinance.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to predict, but you know, you can play it by ear a little bit.
Okay, we'll watch for that. I think that's great advice. Anything else, council? Okay, I just got a couple things, Joe. Copy of the ordinance 22-6. Andy, help us with this. I see Steve has left. Diane framed the wording for the building height. Please. Okay, if you bring that, and would you mind when you get that done, send it back to us so we make sure we understood that? Okay, thank you. Second, I need some information, Ross, relative to the roundabout plan for 6,000 and 3,100. The residents in that area are already getting notification that their property is being considered to be used, purchased to support the roundabout. But some of them, Matt, are actually asking, can I see the design? Can I see what they're doing? They're just being notified now that they will be approached soon about the acquisition of their property. We knew it was coming, this right-of-way acquisition, but we need to see they'd like to see the drawing.
Yeah, in fact, me and Jory, we went out and knocked on doors and we couldn't get anybody to answer the door. So we tried to go out and present them with that. And the reason they're getting approached now is it's through Horrocks. We hired them to go do the property acquisition, but we have definitely done that. And I don't know if they're emailing you, but they can definitely reach out to me and I can meet up with them, or we can even email them, you know, a site plan type thing.
I'm okay either way. The only thing is that it's just a layout of what's the impact.
Yep.
So
yeah, we tried to get a hold of them.
Okay.
So we knocked on doors.
Then let's do this. I don't have the technical expertise, but I certainly can basically provide them a drawing.
Okay.
Do this.
I
I
can
will
email
tell
you the
everybody that I know in that area who's asking me,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, here's a drawing, talk to you.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yep. Yeah, I'll get you one.
Please
sent
send
to
it to
you.
me,
Yep.
Brandon, and then I will make sure it comes back to you.
Just put it on the Public Works Facebook page.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay. Just let me have the drawing. Daughters of the American Revolution would like us to consider a proclamation recognizing Constitution Week. Andy, I've got a sample of a Constitution Week statements. Would you consider that?
Pass it on down.
Please. Council, you're okay with us basically doing a proclamation? This is September's Constitution Week. It's really important nationally. It's being done by many cities and counties, across the nation. And the Daughters of the American Revolution would like us to consider doing one for the Roy City. Are you okay with that?
Sounds great. I think we need more of that.
Andy, it looks like we got a concurrence. Could you help us frame up one for?
I've done this in the past.
We have.
Check right now.
Yeah. The date is September 17th through the 23rd. That's Constitutional Week, okay? If you can help us with that. September 17th through the 23rd, so as close as we get a council meeting to that date would be perfect.
Okay.
Matt, if you can help us, Travis, you can help us with this. Roy City was authorized $150,000 in the 22 ramp projects to do pickleball courts. Obviously, that's a matching funding, and I know you guys had that part in there. Is Roy City planning to consider putting the pickleball courts in before Christmas, or are you going to work and do it in the spring?
We have had conversations with Wasatch Civil, who's doing the drawings and design. They are supposed to send something to me and my staff by the end of the week and let us look at it, make any changes, and we'll have it out for RFP by next Friday.
Perfect. You're on it. Okay, wonderful. Just the last couple of things. Sorry, Council, I just want to make sure we're on the top of these issues. Ross, there has been, Brandon, conversations. I know Ann has been active in this issue about a street light on 2350. Matt, you have talking to people about it. I'm still trying to basically get our arms about what our decision's going to be going forward.
Yeah.
This is a separate street light. Ann, you're familiar with
And Matt went to her house, because she's my neighbor, and you can tell them, Matt, what they're going to do.
Kind of explaining the entire issue, initially we were thinking about doing it right at that blind curve.
Right.
There's a street light closer to Ann's house, and then on the other side of the street, and then you have this blind curve. There is a power pole. We initially reached out to it's not Comcast, it's CenturyLink. They own the power pole, and typically we can request to put the light there. That is the one citizen on that street that did not want the light in their front yard. If you go further south on that street, they actually have cement in their easement. So there's actually 3 properties that have cement in the easement. And if we were to do that, typically when we rip up cement, we don't replace that because it's the easement. We have discussed it with the citizen, as Councilmember Jackson stated, that light on the very next corner is actually facing the other street. So our water tower is just right down the street, maybe, I don't know, 600-700 feet. It actually has 2 lights on the same power pole. So we're thinking what we wanted to try is to see if we could put the light on the same power pole, just facing the opposite direction, because it's not going to shine, you know, south. It's going to shine north instead. So that's actually what we're planning on doing. now.
Okay, perfect.
And she was all up for trying to see if that works.
I like it. Thank you. It's a dogleg road and it's a dark street and they're looking for a solution. Last one, Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot. The council talked on a couple occasions about looking at the non-resident fees, specifically to the complex and the aquatic center. Do you believe you might be able to come back to the council between now and the end of the year with some ideas and maybe? Okay, so should we plan on sometime over the next 2 or 3 months you have a plan? Thank you. Council, that's all I have.
I actually had a thought for a resolution, and I think about it every week, and then I forget about it, and I don't know why I'm doing it on the night we're staying here the latest. A proposed resolution, and I don't know if this has been brought up before, but as I've driven around other cities with high schools on it, a proposed resolution to change the name of 4800 South between 1900 and 3500 West to Royal Way.
Yup.
Yeah,
Yes.
that came
yes.
up
That
last
would be so
year,
cool.
then the group having their 50th year reunion came and proposed that at one of our meetings.
Did it go anywhere?
Royal.
One of the
Well,
issues
there's
that
some
we
big
did
stuff.
have with that is notifying the residents, because they actually have to change their address.
So the
So
question
that's
is
the
it a
biggest
Not do
formal?
Royal Way with
We
that
could put
number?
something on top and not officially have it Royal Way. So if you're like
That's right.
looking
I
at
wondered if that's
Google
what
or
some of
something,
these.
it's going to
I
not
wonder
say
what,
that.
if that's
but
what some of these
you
high
can put
schools
toppers
have.
on there.
Yeah. So
That would be
I think
sick.
that's a conversation we ought to have. Not a bad idea, Joe, but the 4800 is designated in so many places, okay, maps and stuff. Are we talking about changing that? Or do you just want to name the street and make it unofficial naming of the street? And
Well,
call
I
it
was
what
just
it is?
thinking about it as I drove by the roundabout, and then I've driven through a couple other cities in the last couple of days, and, you know, you drive by their high school, and
Yeah.
it's the name of,
Well, Bonneville's Laker Way,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have Laker Way. Titan.
but it has the
I don't
number
remember them
on
saying
it
it, but
with it,
it's-
so.
Yeah.
Has the
it was a
street
really-
number
it was
on
a
it
big-
too, so.
It was a big thing, but the concept was that,
Yeah, I've heard it
was it
before, too.
worth?
well, let's keep it going, figure out something.
Say Royal Way with 4800 underneath it still, like it has on Laker
We
Way.
just
but-
changed the name. Do
official,
they
yeah.
have to change their address? I think that's a huge.
Well, yeah, because I
Yes.
would imagine the frontage road in front of like Woods Cross High, that there's a name that's called Wildcat Way, but I don't think they've actually changed the name of that. There's too
the
many.
number.
Yeah, if the number stays the same, so all the mail addresses, all the communications still calls use a 4800, but people
But just
relate
put
to it
road
because you signed
signage
the
that
signage.
says
Right.
Royal
put it on
Way.
Let's could build the signs.
If you just put it
I
on
mean-
top of 4800.
With yellow and
so
black.
It's,
We're not technically changing the road name, we're just adding.
Right,
yeah,
just
that
do
would be the
Royal Way.
4800
most.
South High.
So, I mean, that's my proposed resolution if we want to adopt it.
What do you?
Everybody okay
Yeah,
with
heck
that?
yeah.
I think that should be gold with
I
black
think it should be
lettering.
yellow and black.
That
Golden
would
black.
be so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Gold
Are you
and
okay
black,
with
of
that?
Athletic
course.
gold, not
Not
yellow.
bright yellow, athletic gold.
Athletic gold, not yellow.
Yeah,
We're now
athletic
getting
gold.
to the color.
But I think if we're going to do it, we ought to do
Sensing-
it by resolution too, even though you're not changing the physical name of the street, but you're adding that to it. It ought to be done by resolution.
We need to
Officially
address-
recognizing the high school.
We need
Where
to
all
have
would we
Matt
put-
draft a
Yeah,
resolution
draft
and
a
present to the
resolution.
city council in September 6th.
So would we put one on every corner
And
where
this
you
would
go?
be-
Everywhere
to-
there's a street sign.
Everywhere there's street sign.
Let's do it for when's homecoming?
October 1st.
There we
Get it
go.
done by then.
And homecoming week is the last week of September.
Okay.
So.
No,
we're doing
we could do, again,
Wait,
we could announce it and then we,
when we do the intersection painting, we should do it then.
Well, the bad thing is if we're doing it by resolution, the 6th, September 6th is the,
or
But-
the 23rd.
Homecoming is that.
Well,
next.
do you make the
Homecoming is
signs
that
yourself?
Can we,
Have
can we
the
mock
material
something
to do
up?
it?
Can we make it, you know,
Yeah.
even if we just do one?
can you prepare everything and
gonna
then we'll
say.
just do the resolution and miraculously it's there? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
That's so
give me the
exciting.
name again, Joe.
Sorry, as your
Royal-
liaison, I apologize.
My proposal is Royal Way. We call it Royal Way.
Royal Way, Royal Ball, yeah, I'm fine with Royal Way,
Royal
Royal
Lane,
Boulevard.
Royal.
And it goes right
Royal
along
Way.
with what's in the middle of the roundabout and
Royal Lane.
I just thought,
Royal Way.
let's get it
Royal
done.
I love
Way or
that.
rail?
Royal Way.
Royal
Way or lane?
Royal
Way,
Way.
Way, W-A-Y.
Because it's the Royal Way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay,
Hear
let's just
us
don't make it
roar.
confusing
Royal
for our
Road.
police chiefs and fire department.
That's my contribution. I make a motion, we adjourn.
I was waiting for that, Joe. Do
I
have
will
a
second, third, fourth, and
And
fifth.
Ann second? No,
second? No.
you got it.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Great meeting,
Bob,
good
wait.
information.
I want you to read this. Oh, cancel. Hand that to Bob. I want you to read that.
It's just politics.
Ms. Jackson, remember last Stevens